Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rack. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. Give up your oil plantations to mobs of violent thugs. Indoctrinate Nathan starting us off there with some fire. My God. And we'll get into that, actually. Today we're going to have a look at some of the controversy that has surrounded recent events, I guess you would say, in Palestine. And unfortunately, the fun continues, it would seem. Cheese Swiss in the house. Sup? How you going? It's good to have you. Welcome to the stream chat today. Welcome to the stream, sorry. Lab Jeff, brother, how are you? Internet friends, as some would say. I think we should mix it up in between Hulk Hogan and that conspiracy woman who said things about hello, internet friends. And that's what we shall be forevermore, internet friends. Now, today, we are going to be considering some titanic undertakings in the global political scene. None other than Aglica's in the house. Yo, what's up? How you going? None other than Supreme Leader Albo has actually gone over to the White House to kiss the ring, as has been requested by many Australians in the media, I guess you would say, in Australia. It's like, about time. Why hasn't he been going over there yet? Why hasn't he kissed the ring? And so Albo has gone and done that now, so everyone will calm down, I'm assuming. But like, that's not really the case, let's be honest. No one's going to calm down after that. 4AS is in the house. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, what's up? Give up your Trump deal and Aussie sovereignty. Well, well, well. We will get into that. And I'm sure if Dilemmas comes around, he'll have something to say about us potentially giving up our sovereignty, ceding that to the orange man. So we'll see how that goes. So we're going to check out the actual speech, because, you know, as we do here, we try to dissect the story that you get from the mainstream media and see the piece for what it is, and then make your own call on that one to stay out of the culture wars as we are moving more and more towards that. We've actually had an interesting foray into the culture wars, myself and 4AS. We had a podcast that came out on Sunday. It's quite controversial, it would seem. And we had a look. Damn right, I called it. Yeah, like you and basically the rest of the media. But yeah. That's like, if you're talking about them giving up like the minerals and stuff, yes, you called it. It seemed to be on the wind. But like, you can claim that one before anyone else. I will attest to that. I will testify if anyone says it. I'll be like, Dilemma said it first. Fuck off, Sky News. Yeah, we did a controversial episode about the culture wars, a podcast, and it came out on Sunday, and we talked about Hassan's dog and weighed in on that chat. And, you know, it's gone off, but we like to stay away from the culture wars as much as we can, because it's impossible to disconnect yourself in this bourgeois world. It seems to be the way of politics and controlling the masses. We just need to focus on something else. So let's watch the actual speech, and then we will watch how the mainstream media has kind of dissected this piece between Albo and Trump, and, you know, whether Albo was sucking up to Trump the whole time, and the controversial stuff he said about Kevin Rudd and all the drama that comes out. We'll cut through some of the drama. We'll see the actual thing, and then we'll have a chat. Let's do that. That reporter that outed Rudd, like, that is like, what was that about? I just saw a snippet of it, like a little, short, I guess. And like, what was that guy doing? He's standing over the top of Rudd, and he was just like, "Hey, do you remember when that douchebag said that stuff about you?" It's like, where is he? He's right here. Yeah, that was interesting, right? I called it before the media. I'm a trendsetter. Yeah, I know, bro. I know. I said I'll testify, man. Testify. You are a trendsetter. You're somehow in the know. Maybe you're part of that libertarian think tank that is somehow funded by USAID or some other type of nefarious soft power funding organization. Remember, if that is the case, dilemmas, help a brother out and start funding this movement. Yo, 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 yo. Just here to watch a trash fire in the house. Welcome, welcome. I love everyone's doing the roll call. Hello, internet friends. Hello. It's good to be here. So let's just, like, without further delay, let's just get into it, because yeah, like, there is a lot of speculation kind of about what's happened, exactly what they really talked to. Man, I'm gonna get to the meat of it and go over to Sky. Yeah, look, you know what I was doing? I was trawling Sky for it this morning. Zilch. Internet friends. Zilch. I don't know why they haven't put anything out about it. Maybe they're waiting to get a hot take on it or something like that. But they hadn't really had anything. So I don't know what's exactly going on there. They had like a 1 minute part on it, and they had like heaps of stuff in the lead up to it, like, you know, what Albanese should be doing. And actually, you know what? Let's start off. Let's just do it. Let's start off actually with what the Sky News opinion was prior to this, just so you can get a vibe of how Australia felt before Albanese was going over there.
As you know, by the time you wake up tomorrow, the Prime Minister of Australia will have sat down for a meeting.
Give me a sec. All right, here we go. Let's have a look at this guy. Paul Murray is his name. I'm starting to know them by name. I'm not proud of that. Can I just say? Chat. Putting a mega piece together, maybe. Yeah, yeah, a mega hit piece. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Wall-to-wall baggers of cuts slamming Albus Sleazy. They are hoping for Oval Office meeting with Zelensky. Actually, you know what? We're going to have a look at that too. We'll get to Zelensky, because Zelensky had a meeting with Trump recently and it didn't go well, apparently. He wanted those tomahawks, and Trump was threatening, he's been threatening Putin for ages, give Zelensky the edge to end the war and finish off Russia, and now he's swung back again. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll have a look at that too. But like, first, let's get a feel before. This was the vibe across Australia. Remember, this gentleman here speaks for everyone in the land down under, and this is how we were all feeling yesterday. If you can't remember, you might have some type of short-term memory issue, so go get yourself checked. But this is how we were all feeling yesterday.
As you know, by the time you wake up tomorrow, the Prime Minister of Australia will have sat down for a meeting with the President of the United States. It will be the third time in a few years that an Australian Prime Minister has sat in the Oval Office. You remember we were there for Scott Morrison when it was his meeting with Donald Trump. We watched from afar when it was Joe Biden giving the red carpet treatment, and we will all find out what happens at about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when these guys actually end up meeting. Now, despite the fact I don't like the Prime Minister, I think the best of Team Australia, and I want it to be a good meeting. And let's be honest,
Team Australia.
While there are many people, including...
Oh yeah, time for some Daddy Trump cock time. I have a love in the house. Oh yeah, you know it. That's why you tuned in, so we can start calling upon Daddy Trump, figuring out what the hell's going on. I just hope more right-wingers realize Daddy Trump isn't your friend. He's our best friend. Yeah, they're very good friends. The more you stare into the abyss, the more familiarity with monsters you have, the more disappointed you become. Oh, man, that's bleak. Hey? Look, no longer you stand into the abyss, fine. But, like, do we have to become more disappointed? Can't we become, more aware? Let's say, more aware, and then we can strategize from there. Let's think of it like that. Pretty good effort, Albo, getting both the left and the right upset by being friendly with Trump. It's like 4D chess. Yeah, well, like, imagine if he didn't get friendly with Trump. Like, imagine what Paul Murray would have said. That would have changed the conversation across the nation.
Maybe myself in some part somewhere who would love to see this sort of Zelensky-like blow-up between a lefty and Donald Trump, who virtually disagree on more than they will agree on. This thing's going to go fine. The American media won't pay any attention to the visit because There's a government shutdown. There's also matters to do with an apparent meeting in the Oval Office in the
Like, he's not wrong. I don't think any Americans even realise that there's an Australian in their country, let alone the Prime Minister.
Last few days with Zelensky and Trump, where they were talking about which bits of the country were going to be traded up to get Russia to back off. There's a lot of other things, so it'll only be the Australian media that will really be interested in the interaction.
Right.
There will no doubt be many people that will tell us the body language of both leaders says they hate each other or they love each other. But of course, Team Australia means I hope the meeting goes well. But as always, sometimes we have to burst the bubble. And interestingly, some polling came out today about what Australians' expectations of the meeting will actually be.
Now, this is the real news right here. This is what Australians think is going to happen at this meeting before we watch it, just to set you up there. LMAO, it's optional. It's optional. They don't know where we are. Yeah. Can someone point to Australia, please? I know it's down south, right?
And while I am a fan of Trump and I am happy with what is happening in the United States, remember, in part, Albanese was able to win the last election in the way that he did by pretending that anyone but him was too close to MAGA. 48% of people say that it simply should be polite to Trump, but be...
All right, let's just get in on this while he's saying it. I'll zoom in for you so you can
firm
see.
in representing Australian values. Is that a surprise to you? 25% of people want him to blow up at Donald Trump. Presumably, 13% of people are
So
more
good.
looking...
Be polite to Trump, 48% of people. But firm in representing Australia's values. Where is this? What's the source for this? They don't have a source. Just Paul Murray. Oh, no, here it is. Data, resolve political monitor. Okay, fair enough. Labor voters, 55% want them to be polite with Trump. 23% want to tell Trump that Australia is unhappy with his conduct. That's so good.
Trump being able to maybe give him a whack, and 14% of people are too busy to really care. Amongst Labor voters, again, the vast majority want it to be polite, which is what it will be. Half of Coalition, the same. Unsurprisingly, 40%.
Yeah, but no one cares about Australia. That's our secret power.
Or 39% of Greens voters, they're the ones who would like Albo to blow up at the president. Well, that ain't going to happen. And again, the vast majority of the other voters, which go everywhere from Teal to One Nation, again, this thing will be exactly what you think it will be. Uneventful. No matter how much the Australian media will pretend that it's a major moment for both leaders, it won't be. If you want to watch it live, it happens in the middle of the night. There'll be full coverage again in the morning with Andrew Clennell, who's in Washington for the meeting, and Pete Stefanovic, of course, with First Edition.
Of course.
Make sure
Thank God. All right, so that's it. That's how Australia was feeling for this monumental occasion. Okay, so just in case you were confused and you can't remember how you felt yesterday, that's how you felt. And if you deny it, you are a commie dog and you should be deported. I heard a lot of that stuff on the weekend. Send them back. That's you. If you can't remember how you felt yesterday, they're going to send you back. I don't care if you were born here, they'll find somewhere to take you. All right, let's do this. We can get away with a lot as well because no matter how much they don't care or think about us, they actually need us more than we need them. Ooh, controversial take there. We'll see what these two have to say about that in Dr. Nathan. Let's go.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to have the Prime Minister of Australia. Fantastic place. A lot of friends over there, and this
Wonderful
is one
place.
of them right here. The Prime Minister is...
Hey, he said there's going to be some body language people. Hey, let's just watch that again.
A lot of friends over there, and this is one of them right here.
Imagine getting slapped by the president, eh? On the forearm. Wow.
The Prime Minister is, as you know, Anthony Albanese, and he's highly respected, done very well in his election, and I hear you're very popular today, right? I mean, it varies from day to day, but...
Where they're going to get all the rare earth metals other than us and China? I don't know, man. They got options. These rare earths, they are everywhere. Not as rare as people make them out to be. So, yeah. Don't worry, he'll fix his relationship with China. We'll be on the back burner again in no time.
With all of us. But he's done a fantastic job as the Prime Minister. We're here to talk about trade, submarines, lots of other military equipment. They're big orderers of our great military equipment. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world by far. And, ooh, you got to watch that. Watch that. You're not allowed to break that. That mirror is 400 years old. The camera just hit the mirror. I just moved it up here special from the vaults, and first thing that happens, the camera hits it. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, but not enough. Australia and China control the majority of global supply. Hence the meeting. Hey, let's have a look.
Hard to believe, but these are the problems in life. So we're going to be here to talk about lots of different things, and we might take a few questions before, but we are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we work together very much on
He does. He does. Mark's in the house. Oh my God, Abba looks uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, what's he going to do? He's just going to sit there and take it, right? Someone said Daddy Trump's talking. You just sit there and listen. Grant Tifa's in the house. Yo, worries about a mirror, but tears down the West Wing. Yeah, that thing was 400 years old. Watch out for the mirror.
earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things. And we've had a very good relationship. We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2. But in the meantime, we're working with Australia and other countries. They're working with us too, but other countries also on that. But we're really working on anything having to do with military protection, military ships, vehicles, guns, ammunition, everything, the whole thing.
Is that a thing? I've never heard of that before. Smiling like a nun with concussion. I've never come across that one. That's a good one. The White House looks like the penthouse in a Saudi hotel. And you can see, if you look through the curtains there, you can actually see the private jet that he was granted as well in the background. Trump had to go easy on Albo. He needs our rare earths to counter China, and they need Pine Gap signals intelligence for China pivot that they want to do, but keep getting bogged in Gaza and Ukraine. Yeah, interesting. So that's why he's playing nice. But like, it's a victory, I would say, for the man with the pink tie on, if this has actually been a good meeting. I guess we'll find out, but so far it looks pretty happy. They seem both very content. There's no tension in the air. Just an uncomfortable feeling from Albo there. But like, this has been talked up for so long. People have been like, oh no, he should have done this earlier, and he's just pissing Trump off by not going and kissing the ring. And it seems like he's just picked a good day. And like, that seems to be what it's like when it comes to Trump. Like, have you got him on a good day if you want to have a meeting with him, right?
We've been long-time allies, and I would say there's never been anybody better. We fought wars together.
Never. Can you hear all the Israelis right now feeling like, oh, you bastard? Like, there's never been anyone better than Australia.
There's never been anybody better. We fought wars together. We never had any doubts, and it's a great honor to have you as my friend. It's a great honor to have you in the United States of America. Please, would you like to say something?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. President, for the invitation here to the White House and for showing us around the improved Oval Office, and for what you're doing around here as well, and for the great honour as well of my delegation staying just across the road. We could have walked, but they didn't let us. We drove all of 20 metres there from Blair House, but it's a great honour to be able to stay there. We are great friends and we're great allies, and this is a relationship that's been forged in the battlefields of the world. We have stood side by side for freedom and democracy.
I was just thinking that, Grant Tifa. Like, you know, it's actually, I'm so used to like just watching Americans talk in their own context kind of thing. When you hear the Australian accent come in, like Albo's one, it's difficult actually. Both their voices are annoying though. Eh? Grinding your teeth there, Grand Tifa. Well, you got to strap yourself in because you got another half an hour of this shit.
And congratulations, I must say, Mr. President, on the work that you've done with the Middle East. It's an extraordinary achievement. And on defence, we've already had a discussion about taking it to the next level. Our defence and security partnership with AUKUS is so important for us, and I thank you for the support that the administration are giving as well. You've had the Chief of the Navy here as well, which will play obviously a very critical role with the subs and increasing the security for the region and the world. And our economic relationship is so important. The US has a trade surplus with Australia, as you know, and we can continue to take what is every opportunity to improve the relationship even further and make it even stronger. And today's agreement on critical minerals and rare earths is just taking it to the next level, seizing those opportunities which are before us to take our relationship to that next level and that we've developed. And Australians love America, and I think Americans kind of like Australia too.
We do.
And as we go forward, I think that today will be seen as a really significant day in our relationship. So I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. It's an honor to sign this, and we'll do it now. And then we'll take...
What is the agreement, though? Like, I've heard some speculation on all of this, that it's really, you know, we're just giving away our resources to the US. Is that true? Is that the long and the short of this? That in order for us to, I don't know, avoid a tariff rise or something, or to smooth over AUKUS, to make sure we get the subs that we've actually paid for. We've made installments already and payments on these things. We've done the down payments, goddammit. And like they can just at any time decide not to give it to us. Like what type of deal that is, no idea. But like that's the trade-off. We're just handing them over. There's no value being created for us in this exchange. I'm going to have to get my research assistant out. Maybe they're going to explain it. Ooh, Trump went for the underhand handshake. The 80 business classes taught me that's a sign of submissiveness. Who, from Trump? Or like he's trying to show that Albo's submissive. The Albo is the alpha. There it is. Well, he was giving off those alpha vibes just then. Not. All right. We are just watching the meeting between Prime Minister Albanese and President Trump. And they have just signed a deal with regards to rare earth minerals in Australia. Can you give us a quick summary of what this deal actually is? I read that us is footing bill for setup and such thing. Oh, sorry, the USA is footing the bill. You know, that's not bad though. Like if you think about it from kind of, you know, that lens that I like to view things from, a Marxian view of how capitalism works. If they set up industry here, that's not a bad deal actually. Give us the industry. Now if they get all the value that comes out of that, that's a problem, but that's, you know, that's future negotiations right there. But if they establish industry, it's the upfront capital costs in industrial society that is the big problem. Like think of all the revolutions that have happened around the world to try and industrialize certain countries. Look at the developing world. That's why it's the developing world. They can't industrialize. It's hard. Here's a quick summary of what the deal between Anthony Albanese and Donald Trump involves. Australia and US signed a critical minerals rare earth cooperation agreement aimed at securing the supply of minerals essential for defense, technology, and energy sectors. The value of the pipeline is reported to be about 8.5 billion US. That's nothing these days, isn't it? Between the two countries, each country will commit at least 1 billion in the next 6 months towards mining processing projects. Okay, that's important. Towards mining / processing. That's where it's at. Like that, you can just come and extract these big piles of dirt. And like, what do you do then? It's really hard to get the minerals out. The agreement also sets a minimum price floor for certain critical minerals, meaning the governments will guarantee some baseline price to support the industry. Cooperation includes streamlining, permitting. Okay, the only thing about processing, and we need to talk about this, is that the processing itself is, in terms of like environmental regulations and standards and all that sort of stuff, it is one of the worst things you can do in terms of its environmental impact. Now, Australia has some really good environmental laws. As someone who worked for a long time kind of in that sector in government, we do have high standards. But if we see that word there, and I know this is a summary from AI, but it's coming from investing.com. I'm sure it's a valuable source. Streamlining. Okay, here, streamlining permitting. So it means to speed up mining and processing operations. So this means like basically they're going to ravage the environment, or they're going to cut down usual environmental protection processes and investigations. So sometimes if you get an environmental impact statement done for a large industrial project of this nature, you know, it can take 2 years just to do the environmental investigations. And there's a report that comes out of that, and then they make decisions from there. And the project might not even go ahead, and you're 5 years down the garden path at that point. Like this, though, this is like, look, we need the minerals, the environment. Like this is a matter of national security, and is that what it said, right? Yeah, defense, technology, and energy. This is a matter for those three pretty important things, to be honest. The AUKUS deal includes undersea drones from Lucky Palmer's company. No way. It says they are going to invest in Australia till they get caught up in red tape and regulations. We will get something like $1 out of every $100 of resources extracted. I heard that secondhand, so it must be true. Oh, okay, fair enough. Environment, so laws where people live, you mean? Environmental laws where people live, you mean? As in, if there are residents in the area or close to it, there's environmental laws. But like outside of that, hey, who cares? You know, do whatever you want. Reckon Trump realizes he's investing in the green industry he said was a hoax? That's pretty funny. Well, look, it depends what they use it for. He could just be using it for defense. That's the destruction of people's lives around the world. So hopefully he's happy with that. Because yes, you wouldn't want to use it for any of that woke green stuff. That's for sure. A specific project mentioned a proposed plant and refinery in Western Australia under Alcoa for gallium, a critical mineral used in semiconductors and defense. The US side will support this. Interesting. Cooperation will include, streamlining, meaning to speed up mining and processing operations, mapping of mineral resources, recycling efforts, and safeguarding national security relevant mineral assets. Got to safeguard those minerals, eh? It's a lot of dirt in Australia. It's going to take a long time. I know we have laws on places of significant cultural value too, but I also hear complaints. It's just old people walking around pointing at things saying, yeah, important, the old. We will just build it outside the environment. Yeah, let's just take it. We took it beyond the environment, right? That's a really good joke from those two guys that talk about the oil tanker that went down. And like, well, we took it out. Like, how far? We took it beyond the environment. So good.
Some questions. Some good ones, I think. Okay.
Could you read that one, Dilemmas? Trump put his book underneath and Alba went over. So is he still the alpha in that one? He's on top, right? He didn't slide under. There you go. The front fell off. It's a cardboard derivative. No cardboard derivative.
Well, this is a $8.5 billion pipeline that we have ready to go.
That's right. It's all ready to go.
Just getting started.
And we're doing a real job on rare earth and many other things. Perhaps I could ask John to say a few words, and then we'll exchange papers. But just how
He
we're
slapped
doing
him
on
again.
your naval purchases and all of the submarines that we're working on with Australia. How's that going?
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, Australia is a very important ally of ours in the Indo-Pacific and in every battle. They've fought with us since World War I, and have always been side by side. The facility that they're building, Surf-West, is critical and very important to our ability to project power in the Indo-Pacific and work with our allies. So we're working very closely. I think what we're really trying to do is take the original AUKUS framework and improve it for all three parties and make it better and clarify some of the ambiguity that was in the prior agreement. So it should be a win-win for everybody. So.
And the submarines that we're building for Australia are starting to really move along, right? The process is getting very exciting, isn't it?
We're getting better.
That's good. Very good.
It's going to be great.
Thank you very much. Maybe we'll hold this up. Okay.
Yeah, chairman meets with the king. Very good. Chris Nolan read it and said it's a framework. Like, read the deal. I wonder if you can get access to the deal. Eh? You can have a look at what the points are. It's a framework. Look, again, like, let's just think about what capitalism really is at the end of the day. And like what Australia is. It really is just a big pit full of resources. We do have a good labour market, and we are we're quite skilled in terms of our labour as well. But like, yeah, we're just a big pit of resources. If we can do some of that processing onshore, that would make us more strategically significant, and not just for the US, for any player that wants to kind of have some type of regional or even if not global dominance. So like, if someone's going to front the bill for that industry, and this mineral processing stuff, the rare earths, it is difficult stuff to do. Not only do you need that skilled labor, which like China pumps out at an incredible rate, but you also need the capacity to do so. So the facilities are large and the processes take numerous goes to try and process the various types of rare earths, which are like, 30 or 40 different chemical compounds they're talking about here, but they all get lumped in as the same rare earth minerals or what have you. But it's industrially intensive stuff. It's not just like packaging or like rolling things along a conveyor belt. This is technically intricate and time consuming. So a lot of countries just divested any responsibility over having to deal with rare earths from basically the 90s onwards. Like, yeah, some would argue you just can't beat the state-owned enterprise structure that the Chinese have, and the willingness that they have to throw in investment in particular industries to dominate it. And so they've made it cheaper by the fact that they've just invested so heavily in it, and they've taken over the game. Or you could also just argue that the rest of the world saw that coming, and they were like, okay, we'll just let China do it, because of, evil globalization. And everyone was cool with that. Everyone was really cool with China taking over a process that is not only just, like I said, very process heavy, so intensive, but it's also an environmental disaster a lot of the time. There's a lot of byproducts from the process that are hard to deal with. And here we are. we're going to start doing that. I think that like a country like Australia is well positioned to actually take that type of entire process, so the totality of the production, more seriously than like somewhere else that might not have any environmental regulations at all or standards. So we might be able to do it properly. But again, that's such a free pass getting the Americans. If that's part of the deal, if the Americans are going to pay for the industry, fucking let them pay for it, man. Let them do it, hey, for the boys.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
The AUKUS defence pact that the Prime Minister just mentioned, it is a critical issue for Australia.
Yes.
You haven't really spoken much about it publicly. It was a deal that was done under Joe Biden to sell submarines to Australia at a time when
he
you're
said
not
Joe
really
Biden.
making enough for your own needs. So can you tell us, have you gotten across the details of the deal? Do you support it, and will you honour it?
It was made a while ago, and nobody did anything about it, and it was going too slowly. We do actually have a lot of submarines. We have the best submarines in the world, anywhere in the world, and we're building a few more currently under construction. And now we're starting, we have it all set. With Anthony, we've worked on this long and hard, and we're starting that process right now, and I think it's really moving along very rapidly, very well.
I love when people say long and hard. It's so good. It gets me every time. He's not wrong, though. Apparently, the US does have the best subs. Like, and by a long shot compared to anyone else. Like, in terms of other things like aircraft, I guess you would say, standard military equipment, drone warfare, satellite technology, space war. We're going to get into that at some point. But yeah, subs, apparently. That's where America is still apparently a decade or so ahead of everyone else. So if we get access to subs under AUKUS, at least you got world standard right there. Hey? None of this Timu shit. It's going to be world class, baby.
But if submarine production doesn't continue, how can you guarantee Australia will get the bonus?
Oh, it's getting, oh no, they're getting it
At least 32 people.
What did he say?
rapidly, very well.
But if submarine production doesn't continue, how can you guarantee Australia will get the bonus?
Oh, it's getting, oh no,
How can you guarantee Australia's going to get them? Right. Oh, it's getting them.
they're getting it.
At least 32 people have been killed in those.
Excuse me, you're next.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
China's bad behavior has really only gotten worse since the AUKUS partnership was formed. With that in mind, is the door open for Australia to get additional nuclear-powered submarines or other military capabilities not already in the deal?
I think China's been very respectful of us. They're paying tremendous amounts of money to us as in the form of tariffs. As you know, they're paying 55%. That's a lot of money.
Like, he does know how tariffs work, right? I don't think the Chinese are paying the tariffs. So I'm not sure what he's talking about. Unless he means like the they're putting counter tariffs on the US, then the Chinese are paying big time. So unless that's what he means. Sup all, Solar Bear in the house. Welcome. We are watching the meeting of two titans of geopolitics. None other than, I think his name is Trump, something like that. But this is Chairman Albo. You would be familiar with him. Don't know much about the other dude though. But yeah, it's been decided. Australia and the US they've got a deal, and it's about rare earth minerals. And like, no takeover required. Can I say this ain't no Greenland where the US are gonna have to invade us. They've already got their military here, and they seem to have us by the balls as well when it comes to other things like tariffs and AUKUS, which is what they're speaking about. So welcome. And we'll see what they have to say.
They never were paying anything over years and years and years. But they were like anybody else. A lot of countries took advantage of the U.S. They're not taking advantage anymore. No, China's paying 55% and a potential 155% come November 1st unless we make a deal. And I'm meeting with President Xi. We have a very good relationship. We're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks. And we'll see what we can do. We have a very good relationship with China, but it's been probably a little bit like your relationship with China. they try and take advantage, but most countries do. I mean, I can say the European Union took advantage, but not anymore. We worked out a very fair trade deal. Japan, we worked out a very fair deal. South Korea, where I'll be meeting President Xi, we worked out a very fair deal. And I expect we'll probably work out a very fair deal with President Xi of China. So most of you will be with us. It's going to be very exciting. And I think we're going to work out something that's good for both countries.
Are you at least interested in expediting, excuse me, are you at least interested in expediting the nuclear-powered subs to Australia?
Well, we are doing that, yeah. We're doing that. We have them moving very, very quickly. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I don't think you've ever been to Australia. Have you thought about coming to Australia and trying out some of the golf courses?
I would, and I actually have been to Australia, and I did play one of your great golf courses. They have great golf courses there. But I have been to Australia, actually.
Would you come again?
Oh, I would. In fact, I've been invited to go, and
Indeed.
I'll have to give it serious consideration. No, it's a real
Did
possibility.
the Prime Minister invite
Oh,
us?
hey, could you imagine? Hey? Could you imagine what will the March for Australia protesters do at that point? What will the counter protesters do at that point? I wonder if it'll be controversial if President Trump comes out for a visit. Hey? Well, tell us what you'd do, chat, if Trump came for a holiday. Would you go down to the local golf course and celebrate? That'll be interesting.
Today.
He did.
And perhaps we could time it, must be said, with the President's Cup that Australia hosts as well.
When is the President's Cup?
We'll organise a time suitable for you, Mr. President.
Okay, please, in the back, please. Yeah, in the back, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, the Prime Minister mentioned that there's a trade imbalance that's very heavily in America's favour. Why does America slap such heavy tariffs on a friend and ally?
Well, we don't,
like Australia?
yeah. Well, we do in some cases. We do in many cases because we've been treated unfairly. But actually, the tariffs are very light. The one thing is you buy a lot of airplanes, so that helps because you buy a lot of the beautiful Boeings, the best of the Boeings. Boeing, and by the way, Boeing is really doing well. They have lots of orders, and they're really doing a great job. They make a great plane. But Australia, because of its location, which is great, but one of the things dictated by that location is you have to order a lot of airplanes. So I guess we have that advantage. They need a lot of airplanes in Australia, and that gives us a little bit of an...
Mr. President.
Mr. President, yeah, your Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, in his Shangri-La speech in, I think it was May, warned about the potential likelihood or threat of President Xi ordering an invasion of Taiwan. 2027 is also the year that Fleet Base West is supposed to start rotating those US and UK submarines. Do you see AUKUS as a deterrent for China in the Indo-Pacific?
Yeah, I do. I think it is, but I don't think we're going to need it. I think we'll be just fine with China. China doesn't want to do that. First of all, the United States is the strongest military power in the world by far. It's not even close. Not even. Nobody's going to mess with that. And I don't see that at all with President Xi. I think we're going to get along very well as it pertains to Taiwan and others. Now, that doesn't mean it's not the apple of his eye, because probably it is. But I don't see anything happening. We have a very good trade relationship. We're going to have a very good, I think when we leave South Korea, it could be wrong, but I think we'll end up with a very strong trade deal. Both of us will be happy. I don't see that happening now.
Mr. President, use our leverage to carve out a much better deal than this. We had the best position to negotiate than any of the other Commonwealth countries. Once again, Australia is America's lapdog. Yeah, well, that's not going to change. Yeah, I don't see that ever being a factor where, like, what, he was going to come over here and slam his fist down on the table and demand stuff of the president. Didn't see that. And so he has said anyway, this has been negotiated over the last 4 or 5 months. And so they just came here for a signing and a photo op. This was already decided behind closed doors, it would seem. No real negotiation at all. And yeah, we could have gotten something else. Like they could have dropped tariffs, at least, right? Sydney Snotley. Is that? Yeah, Sydney Snotley. They need us. Dot 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 dot. Is that dot 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 because you're gonna follow that up, or you're just saying like for dramatic effect? Yeah, they need us. But that's the thing. Like this is the imperial core here. And Australia is scared of China. Like, look at all these questions. A lot of these questions are, okay, they're about AUKUS, kind of, but the premise of why they're asking about AUKUS, really, or the premise of why they're asking about AUKUS is, what are we going to do about China? Are you going to deliver these nuclear subs or not? Are they going to be on time? China's got its eye on the prize. It's going to be ready for invasion by 2027. And will we actually be at a point where we can get access to those subs by then? It's the fear mongering that has kept us in this position. Like what everyone is describing here, or a few people describing in the comment section, is really, hey, Australia has got the cards here. Why are we playing like, we are significantly at a disadvantage? They want access to our rare earth minerals. They want access to our strategic location. It's a very important foothold in the Pacific region. So why aren't we fighting harder? Australia has usually and typically operated out of fear as a dramatic outpost on the edge of the capitalist world. We really have this strange syndrome, understanding that like we're kind of floating on the edge of the world here, and anyone could come in and take us over. And so we look for tough guys to come and look after us, and that's all this negotiation is about, really. That's it. The test will be when the Karen sues American companies after the under 16 ban. When American companies start losing money, then Trump will step in. Yeah, and then there'll be some more tariffs. And then Albo is going to have to go over and negotiate again. But like, they might need us. But like, we live in fear in Australia. And I think that fear is, we've got the real estate. Yeah, but the fear is a big factor. And yeah, people can't fathom it. And it's political suicide to go against it and just be like, nah, don't worry about China. We can go alone, kind of thing. They want us. Let's bring them to the negotiating table. But I stand by it. If they develop our industry, huge boon for Australia. Massive bonus there. There's so much of it is the difficult upfront costing. The environmental cost is going to be huge. I don't know how we're going to deal with that, but like it's a pretty large place, Western Australia, very expansive. Like Jeff will tell you. So like there is scope to do that in a sustainable fashion. But man, if they front the cost and we have the infrastructure, cheering. Eh? Like that's what we were waiting for. Like as a colony, we would just sit waiting for the British to invest more and more in Australia and invest in the colony industrially, so we could produce value here in this country instead of just being a port where we just ship everything out of. Like the more they invested here, the better our prospects got. So if the Americans, again, if they want to invest industry, like go for it. Like, because there's going to be a lot of people around the world and they start turning to marketplaces that can process rare earths. There are huge deposits around the world of rare earths. Greenland being one of them. Brazil's got a lot. There's a number of places in Latin America that have them. China, like massive supply of it. The Americans have them too. Like they're everywhere. It's just that you want to find them in good concentrations. And there's places around the world, but the processing is difficult. And the US used to do the processing, like up until the 70s or something like that. They were dominating it. And then they just ducked out of that race like everything. They deindustrialized. They shot their working class in the back. Sorry, stabbed them in the back. And like killed them execution style. Oh yeah, and we're hot. And like, I hope you mean when you say hot, I hope you mean like Trump style hot. It's like Western Australia is so hot right now, so hot. Everyone keeps saying Western Australia is so hot. Yeah, like the Americans had that, and then lost the skills because the skills is the big part of how you process. You need to have people in your country that know how to handle. You need like chemists and shit like that. You need people that know how to process all of this. And yeah, the Chinese are killing it in that front, by the way. Like their university system just churns out the engineers that know how to deal with this stuff. I wonder, that'll be the other thing. We have the industry, but over in ye old Western Australia with LARP Jeff, they're going to have some, some good tertiary, university courses, education system structured in a way to start pumping out people that can service that sector. Unless we're just going to fly in Chinese people. I wonder how everyone will feel about that. Okay, the Americans paying for mineral processing to be done on Australian soil, and it'll all be operated by Chinese workers. That would be a coming together of the globalist world order. Sydney, Snotley, Pine Gap, Darwin, Freo, Port, etc., etc. Yes. The only authority Americans react to is lawfare and the courts. The courts are literally the monarch of the states. That's interesting that you say that, because like part of Trump's subversion of democracy, as people are saying, right, is that he's just ignoring the judicial system. And he's taken them on. China was clever to destroy American manufacturing. The only reason America did so well during World War II was their manufacturing base was easy to convert to weapons. Yes. Now, that's a huge call, saying it was China who was clever to destroy American manufacturing. Like, unless you're suggesting that the Chinese were over there twisting American business owners' arms and just being like, move to China, or we'll shoot you, kind of thing. That's a big call. I would say there was a large sentiment of corporate greed that went into a lot of the reason why the US deindustrialized, because labor was cheaper in China. That is a huge factor. And again, unless you have a way of showing that the Chinese were over in America, twisting everyone's arms and making them all deindustrialize, it's an interesting interpretation, I must say. Dilemmas. Isn't the whole minerals processing part of the future made in Australia thing? Yes, I think they have talked about that as part of it. And like, I thought that was concentrated in parts of Queensland. So this has been on the agenda, it would look like. There was a lot of industrial reshoring, but like kind of future industry stuff as well, which is like high-tech industry they're looking at. And the thing about high-tech industry, not across the board, but it doesn't employ the same amount of labor as it did before, because a lot of processes seem to be automated. But I'm assuming, any of that sort of technology now, or sorry, that type of intensive industry now would be significantly automated process. And like, you just got like kind of specialists and engineers as opposed to people, on production lines doing stuff. Not in the same quantities anyway. Wings of cheese in the house. Yo, yo, yo. America can have all the fancy weapons and tier 1 operators they want, but if they can't sustain manufacturing of things like shells, tanks, etc., they are dead in the water. Yes, fair enough. And that's why the minerals are so important. Apparently there's like, I want to say there's 400, or there's like a few hundred kilograms. Is that right? A few hundred kilograms or something of rare earths that go into like a fighter jet, a state-of-the-art fighter jet. And China supplies that. So China is supplying America's military at the moment. China manipulates its currency to appeal to foreign investment in manufacturing. They took the pain early to get where they are now, a manufacturing powerhouse, and that's what wins wars. Yeah, and that's not twisting anyone's arm. That's called playing global economics. So if they make themselves attractive for investment, and American manufacturers are just like, fuck yeah, cheap labor, and it causes capital flight from the US to China, that's well played China. I don't think you can say that that was them destroying American industry. It was the Americans who destroyed their own industry, but not having the foresight to think, hey, we might need this industry in the future, and like we should keep stuff onshore and convince our business sector or our at least our industrial corporate sector not to take off. Like that was some really, really short-sighted planning, I guess you would say, economic planning from the US there. But like like when this was happening, it was all about globalization, and the world was going to become one big happy family at that point. And so they were more than happy to exploit cheap Chinese labor. That's for sure. Trumpy Humpy with Chairman Albo, eh? Commie collaborator. Yeah, if only Trump knew, eh? Like what Paul Murray said before. Paul Murray said before, he's like, oh, we got this lefty over here, Albo, meeting with Donald Trump. And he said, I wish, I would like nothing more to see Trump crush this lefty. But, I'm for Team Australia or some bullshit like that. Look at Russia's sustainability despite all the sanctions, etc. It's because of their wartime manufacturing. That's why I say clever. They never use aggression. Well, that's economics. I think that's just global economics. And if you can't think further than 4 years because of an election cycle, and China thinks in like terms of 5, 10, 20-year plans, then you're going to get done every day of the week. China used candy to lure the Americans in to their white van. Funny. Well, look, again, I would substitute America like it's some unified conglomerate that has a plan, and I would substitute they used candy to lure in business, and business were more than happy to abandon Americans and destroy the American working class in order to get more profit somewhere else. And so they industrialized China on China's behalf. Like that's what I'm saying with this stuff at the moment, with this deal. If this is true, that America is going to be paying for the industry, let them fucking pay for it. Let them pay for it, man. Trump is now officially friends with Albo, the trot. Yeah. I wonder if he was a trot, actually. Because, he was obviously quite vocal back in the day, student protester, organizer, activist. I wonder if he ever was. I wonder what Trump's nickname for Albo would be. Like, it would be something funny. I don't think he'd use existing nicknames. Nah. And the Americans can't really say Albanese properly either, by the look of it. I think they say Albanese. I think they put the E on it. They do the WOG thing and pronounce all of the vowels and accentuate them. The yellow one doesn't give a proverbial who he deals with as long as he reckons he's getting the upper hand. Well, I guess that's the art of the deal then. You got to make it look like he's winning, and then you can get whatever you want, right? Yeah, fair enough. I accept your distinction. I see it, but like I know what you're saying as well. I get it. It is a form of aggression. But like it comes from planning. Like this is the thing. At the end of the day, with the American system of economy and the faith they put in the private sector, it's fine. But if you have election cycles of 4 years and you're not planning for anything longer term than that, and the private sector is allowed to kind of just do whatever it wants, which is the idea, right? Freedom. They'll just they sell people out. I don't think they have any real national sentiment at all, and they sold out the America's future. And like, look at what Trump's trying to do at the moment, supposedly anyway, with the tariffs. He's trying to reindustrialize America. If everyone gets hit up for importing stuff into the US, then they're just gonna be like, fuck it. Let's just set up shop here, and then we can avoid all the tariffs. And so he's trying to force people to bring the business back. He's forcing industrialization. But like, it's so much easier. And this is how capital works, right? As a totality, as a machine. Like capitalism as a mode of production looks to find cheap labor sources. And so capital in the US went to find cheap Chinese labor. And China was like, hey, world, not only do we have cheap labor, but we got millions of people. We got hundreds of millions of people. The Americans couldn't even like really compete with that. Like they had great industry, but the Chinese had like cheap labor in the hundreds of millions. And they're like, hey, come do business here and you get access to this cheap labor. So Trump's trying to use economic tools to try and reindustrialize or onshore, reshore, or however you want to say it, American industry. And that's nice. But like without the incentive there for these financial institutions or these corporations to be like, yeah, okay, it's a safe bet. Let's reshore American industry. Without that carrot or that cherry on top with having access to tons and tons of cheap labor, it's too risky a decision. And because of his tariff policy and the way that he's been treating world politics as just like how he feels on the day, there's a lot of companies that are kind of like, look, I want to avoid the tariffs and put my industry back in the US, but like he could just change his economic policy, he could do an 180-degree turn every 6 months, and so it's not a safe place to invest. But like the China, you got like 20-year plans, so people know, like investors know, they're like, fuck, they're going to be doing this for the next 10, 15 years, 20 years. Let's invest here. And if we need to figure out our plan, our business plan, we can figure that out in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. It's a safer place to invest because of the planning. It's funny how it works, because that sort of stuff is supposed to be, evil socialism and communism and all that sort of stuff. That was his nickname. Just picture Trump saying Albo Sleazy. Yeah, that's what people were saying at the March for Australia protest. Hey. Dude, Albo Sleazy.
President, given the trade surplus that the US enjoys with Australia, would you consider lifting the tariffs that you've imposed on Australia? And can you give us any details about the critical minerals agreement that's been signed?
The tariffs have been amazing because, tariffs have been really a reason that I was able to settle almost all of the, I've settled 8 wars in 8 months. Not bad. I have one more to go. It's Russia, Ukraine, and I think we'll get there, but it's turned out to be nasty because you have 2 leaders that truly hate each other. You can't have it all, right? They hate each other beyond all else, and it makes it actually a little bit difficult. But we try, of the 8 deals, I would say because of tariffs, 4 or 5 of them were settled. It's an amazing thing, the power of tariffs in terms of our country. But tariffs have always been used against us. We never use them against anywhere else. And now you have a president that for national security reasons and other reasons is using them. And we've become a very rich nation again and a very secure nation again. But we've also become a nation that used that power of tariffs and the power of trade to settle 5 of the 8 wars that I said. I settled 8. I'm very proud of that. Nobody else has settled 1. I don't think there's been an American president that settled 1. I think there probably hasn't been outside of the 2 countries involved, or however many are at war. I don't think there's ever been an outside country that settled a war, period. So I settled 8.
Is that true? Like, he keeps saying this. Like, I guess we should just eventually fact check him on this one. Trump has claimed that he has ended 8 wars now and counting. He's also claiming that no other American president or foreign state figurehead has ever ended somebody else's war or a war between 2 other parties. Can you verify whether this is true? Briefly. I didn't even know if you were watching. I thought you were just like, oh man, this is about Australian stuff. Fuck this. There you go, Jag. Where is my cut from all this tariff money if we're so rich? Don't worry, you're gonna get a tax return or something like that, I guess. Because like it's all coming in through the tax system, and they're going to use that as a justification to give more tax cuts to the ultra wealthy. So all you need to do, Jack, all you need to do is become a billionaire, and then you'll get access to the tariff money that is raised indirectly because you'll also get tax cuts. All right. I just got here, was getting swole. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I've got that gif in my head. Both WWs. All right, let's have a look. What the fact checkers say. No president ever solved a war, claims. While Trump has been involved in the mediation and ceasefire efforts, international disputes, many of the conflicts he cites were not full-scale wars. Yeah, tell us about the... Also, contrary to no president before me claim, other US presidents have personally negotiated or overseen peace agreements between other states. E.g., Jimmy Carter helped broker the Camp David Accords between Egypt and Israel. Okay. I wonder if there's other ones. Are there any more examples like this? So we got one for Jimmy Carter. Okay, Theodore Roosevelt, 1905, ended the Russia-Japanese War. Woodrow Wilson ended World War One. Yeah, nobody ever cares about someone ending World War One. Why don't they remember me? So good. Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry Truman ended World War. Oh, that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Dwight D. Eisenhower ended the Korean War after starting it. Yeah, thanks. Bill Clinton, Dayton Accords, Bosnian War, oversaw and hosted peace talks. Interesting. The Dayton Peace Agreement ended the fighting between Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia. What a biggie that was. My God. Those people would have fought to the death as well. Yeah, Clinton and the Oslo Accords. I wonder if we'll get there. Look, the list is still going. Richard Nixon ended U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. Yeah, fair enough. Barack Obama, Iran nuclear deal. Yeah, bit of a stretch. Mikhail Gorbachev, Soviet Union, helped end the Cold War and the Soviet-Afghan War. Nelson Mandela mediated peace in Burundi's civil conflict in the 1990s. Dag Hammarskjöld, I don't know how you say that, it brokered multiple ceasefires during the 1950s, including the Suez Crisis. I think Parenti would have other opinions on Clinton and Yugoslavia. Yeah, I'm sure he would. Where were the Americans during the Boer War? Where were they? We were in World War II before America. America helps fight in our wars. That's interesting. Interesting take there. That's not the sentiment that was coming out of this meeting before.
In 8 months, I'm proud of that. Now, in the meantime, I'm running a country that's right now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We were
said
dead.
It again.
A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country in the world, economically and otherwise. So, but I will say this.
Almost as hot as Western Australia.
Australia pays very low tariffs, and otherwise. So, but I will say this. Australia pays very low tariffs. Very, very low tariffs. In fact, Australia pays among the lowest tariffs.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
Mr. President, there's been concern in Australia that it's taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration with the stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past?
Oh, look at Albo. He's squirming. Hey, you dog. He's throwing you under the bus, Albo. Hey, let's have a look at that again. He's throwing you under the bus.
It's taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration with the stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
Yeah, this is the
I
one.
don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to
threw both of them under the bus. That's the one. Sky New OFC. This is the moment, right? Right, let's have a look. Pretty funny list. The AI would be using a bunch of bourgeois propaganda. 100%. But I was just trying to understand whether he's got any base to his claim that no other person, no other president has ever brokered any type of peace between like other parties before as a third party. Come on. Like, even the bourgeois propaganda would call bullshit on that. Paul Murray's head would have exploded if Trump called Albo hot. Yeah, could you imagine? Albo throws Rudd right under the bus. Yeah, he just lets him, because he was like, fuck, I don't want to talk about the Palestine thing, right? Like, let's just let Rudd cop the heat there.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, there's been concern in Australia that it's taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration, with the stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't know. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right there.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President,
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead.
And that's the one that they keep clipping over and over again. So good. Oh, man. They're really fishing for a bad comment. Yeah, they want that clip, don't they? What's Paul Murray going to do? Hey, what's he going to fucking talk about for like 20 minutes if they don't get a good clip, right? That's a good point. They really were fishing, right? Albo, here, right? Take a bullet for Chairman Albo. Well, that's the thing, though, right? You do take a bullet for your supreme leader. And Kevin Rudd had to take a bullet. That's actually kind of endearing in its full context. Yeah, it's not as bad, is it? But everyone's making it out to be. It's like, well, I don't like you either. Ha ha ha. Let's all have a laugh. Think about how many wars King Trump will solve with his indefinite presidency. Yeah, I know, right? All wars will be finished soon. It'll be the war to end all wars, thanks to King Trump. So CEO King Trump. Paul Murray would be extremely depressed if Trump hooked up with Alba. He basically would be listening to Radiohead all day, getting extremely drunk in his Sky News sewer studio. Yeah, just playing it on repeat, the point that they start macking on.
No, you went. Go ahead, behind you, President.
Mr. President, your Secretary of the Navy said there will be some clarifications around some ambiguities on AUKUS. Can you tell us?
Well, he'll get that taken care of. These are just minor details that he'll take.
Can I ask you specifically on?
John, you're going to get that taken care of, right?
Correct.
There shouldn't be any more clarifications because we're just going now full steam ahead building.
Yeah,
please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are you now satisfied with Australia's defence investment, or do you want Australia to invest more in defence?
Well, I'd always like more, but they have to do what they have to do. You know, you can only do so much.
What a get out of jail free card that was. Do you remember like when it all started? When like Trump was demanding 5% of GDP spending off like all the all the NATO members and all that sort of stuff. And people were asking Albo and he was just like, we're a sovereign nation. We can do whatever the fuck we want. I'm not beholden to anyone. And so I think he said, oh, we've committed to 2% or whatever it was. At the time, and he was like, yeah, fuck that. And like everyone was like kind of very upset about Trump at the time, and everyone was like, yeah, we're sovereign. And like Trump just let him get out of jail free just then. There's a few questions here. I was like, fuck, please don't make me answer this one. There's footage of Rudd's facial expression during the exchange. Yeah, I've seen it, I think. And he's got a mad beard at the moment, too. Is the person who said a bad thing about me still here? Yeah, of course he is. Boss moves. Trump only respects people who stand up for themselves in his mind. Big bullying mentality shit. Man, he's an 80s guy. And he's king of the deal. King.
I think they've been great. They're building magnificent holding pads for the submarines. It's going to be expensive, too. You wouldn't believe the level of complexity, right, and how expensive it is. They're building tremendous docking because they have a lot of ships and a lot of things happening. And I think their military has been very strong, very, very strong.
Mr. President, on the war that you haven't solved yet, the Ukraine-Russia situation, have you now locked in a meeting? And can you explain, just a few weeks ago at UNGA, you said that Ukraine could possibly win the war and keep its territory, but now
they could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it.
Mm-hmm.
I never said they would win it. I said they could win. Anything can happen. You know, war is a very strange thing. A lot of bad things happen, a lot of good things happen. If you look at the Middle East, I would say prior to us hitting Iran so hard, we could have never made that deal because you would have had a dark cloud over the Middle East when we took out their nuclear capability, which was one of the great military maneuvers of all time. It was flawless. You saw that. Yeah. Those magnificent B-2s. I mean, that was.
Did you see that, Albo? Yeah, yes. Me and the rest of the world were watching that one. When you went in to somebody else's country and you destroyed their facilities, their civilian facilities, for all we know, and you basically, with complete impunity, destroyed parts of somebody else's sovereign territory. Yeah, we were watching that, Trump. Everyone was a bit nervous at that time. We'll never forget it.
It was a flawless move that was done by some very talented people, headed up by Pete and everybody else, and our great generals, and General in particular, Raisin Cane. We did a great job. And when that happened, everything was different, and we were able to get a deal. If we didn't do that, if it wasn't, they wanted to do that for 22 years, Mr. Prime Minister. For 22 years, I had the pilots here, the B-2 pilots, and they came to the Oval Office, and I thought they deserved it. They flew 37 hours back and forth. We had 52 tankers up there. We had a lot of planes up there with them, but they were the primary plane. But we had a lot of planes, F-22s and F-35s and F-16. We had a lot of planes. But we had 52 tankers, can you believe that? And it was just like a flawless mission. And when it was finished, the Middle East just opened up, amazing. And they've wanted to do it for 22 years. The pilots came up to me, they said, for 22 years we practiced this maneuver. 3 times a year for 22 years, our predecessors and us. These are now young pilots, but they're older now, predecessors practiced it. And they said, we never had a president that would let us do it, but I let him do it, and it totally opened up the Middle East. It took the cloud over the.
What's the reference? I don't get it. F-250. Did he slip or something like that? Even if you wanted a strong dictatorial leader, regardless of the political implications of what do people see in Trump, that he actually has a person that isn't a part of his cult personality. Even if you wanted a strong dictatorial leader, regardless of the political implications, what do people see in Trump that he actually has as a person that isn't part of his cult personality? I don't know. I think you've hit the nail on the head with the cult part. I think world politics, but specifically American politics, seems to be very turbocharged at the moment, and incredibly polarized. And so people are looking for someone who's, literally just a good personality to get behind and get things done. And I think everybody realizes that capitalism, on the part of the Western world anyway, is at a point of stagnation. And so people equate somebody who says they're going to get things done with a broader pickup in the economy. And so if he's got a bit of personality, and he'll do it with flair, he's going to put tariffs on everyone, destroy relationships, and be pretty kind of risque. As long as he looks like he's doing something that might solve people's concerns that the economy sucks. And there's shitty prospects out there. So yeah, it really does come down to him being the guy who gets things done. Because he's not smart enough to lead a global superpower effectively. That's fine. There's no shame in that. At least as fucked up as it was Roman emperors who were praised as gods. Some of them were actually very capable at leading, Yeah, it's an interesting point. It's a really interesting point. Just naming all the Fs. Got to throw in some Ford trucks. Okay. Mega just wants to own the libs. They don't stand for anything. Hey man, fucking owning the libs is it's a huge thing in life, right? It's massive. Dilemmas. America's right wing want Trump to be the person the left describes him as. Trump isn't a complicated animal. He's a 1980s Americana personified. He's 90s and 1980s America kind of personified. Yeah, he's the 80s guy. He's an 80s guy. And he's the business 80s guy as well. Art of the deal. Trump, to his credit, has had basically the same talking points for like 30 years. A lot like Bernie in that way. Pretty consistent as far as American politics goes. I guess he knows optics. Yeah. Yeah, well, he's just that magnetic. He's that character, like you're saying. He's got this personality and people are willing to accept that at this point in time. There is a general stagnation in the West, and people understand that the economy isn't really working the way it should be. It's not serving everyone. It's definitely serving the ultra wealthy. They seem to be increasing their wealth all the time, and with their power, and power seems to be being sucked out, and wealth being sucked out of the middle classes, the working classes, like everybody else, basically. And so people feel disenfranchised by the system. And so someone that promises and says some crazy shit, but it looks like they're doing something in a system that has become ineffectual, thanks to, you know, the radical centrists out there that have dominated world politics for a long time and just managed the economy for neoliberal interests. Someone like Trump, who is kind of more nationalist than neoliberal, because the neoliberals don't care. They'll go global as long as it's good for business. So someone who's like nationalist is almost antithetical to a neoliberal in a lot of ways. And so he has been able to rally that spirit. And people are like, yeah, we are not feeling it anymore. Like the world has stagnated, and what are we going to do about this? And so if somebody comes in and said, look, if we just look after us, we'll be fine. And like, all right, well, fuck the rest of the world. Let's do this. And so like, yeah, yeah, you know, I think like a lot of things, there's like right time, right place, or good timing. And he's definitely, because I think it's a good point. Dilemmas is right. When you listen to Steve Bannon talk about the first time he met Donald Trump, like Trump was talking like this, you know, 5-10 years ago. So he's been speaking like this about like what he thinks is good for the American economy and like what he thinks about China and stuff like that. Like that's what we were talking about before Dilemmas. Like Trump has always been pretty vocal on like, he's like, China's fucking America over. Like we've deindustrialized and they're taking everything. They're producing the value. Like we should be doing that too. And so like he's been talking about that for a long time. And so yeah, he's kept up that talking point. And now America is ready for him and have welcomed him with open arms. Like the entirety of the Republican Party has basically, it's recreated itself in the image of Trumpism, as people like to say, or at least you can say MAGA. It's reinvented itself. And that's just pretty scary. Like it was a pretty crazy machine, the Republican Party. Well-oiled, strong machine, great backing, and it's succumbed completely to MAGA. So like America is ready for that type of staunch nationalism. It's unfortunate that it's going to take the guise of Christian nationalism because, you know, we've had that type of stuff about 70 years ago in various parts of the world, and that was associated with fascism. So you got to be careful. Saying something often enough can make people believe. Yeah, yeah, you can change people's opinions if you repeat the same thing over and over again. Maybe that's what I should start doing. I'm just going to give the same lecture every stream about like we all should be anti-capitalist and like get rid of the culture wars, and then maybe people will start believing me over and over and over again. I'm going to say the same thing.
A dark cloud over the Middle East, and now it's all, I mean, we have a little situation relatively with Hamas, and that will be taken care of very quickly if they don't straighten it out themselves, because they're in violation of their agreement.
Thank you, Mr. President. On rare earth minerals, Australia is one of the only places in the world that processes rare earth minerals.
Yeah,
could there be an agreement? China has 90% of the processing. Could there be an agreement over processing rare earth minerals with Australia?
Sure, yeah. That's what we're doing. It's part of the agreement.
Can you say with certainty?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Just, sorry,
yeah.
on a follow-up.
Nah, savage, Poor Albo. He just wanted to say one thing. And no one wanted to pay attention to him. They're just yelling, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President.
On Taiwan, there are reports that you will come up.
There's your Paul Murray moment, bro. That's why it's taken them so long to come out with something. They're still filtering through the footage to try and get those moments.
Pressuring you to not support independence for Taiwan in exchange for a trade deal.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. What I'll talk about, you and I will have
reports that you will come up, or China is pressuring you. Sorry,
yeah.
On a follow-up on Taiwan, there are reports that you will come up, or China is pressuring you to not support independence for Taiwan in exchange for a trade deal.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. What I'll talk about, you and I will have that discussion in a couple of weeks when I'm in South Korea with President Xi. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. I assume that's going to be one of the things, but I'm not going to talk about that now.
Yeah, please, go ahead. Mr. President, you just alluded to the violence in the Middle East. What steps is the administration taking to maintain the ceasefire?
Well, a lot of steps, and right now it's in the hands of others. You know, we have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have a peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that, you know, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that. So they went in, and I don't believe it was the leadership, but they had some rebellion in there among themselves, and they killed some people, you know, a lot of people. But this is a violent group. You know, you probably noticed over the last 100 years, this is a very violent group of people. And they got very rambunctious, and they did things that they shouldn't be doing.
That's a great word. Rambunctious. So good. Hey, he's full of surprises, this guy. Such a good word.
We're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately.
Yeah, just following up on that question, when you say we are going to eradicate Hamas,
yeah.
Who is we? Does that include American boots on the ground?
No, it won't be on the ground at all. We don't need to, because we have many countries, as you know, signed on to this deal. The way I view it, 59 countries, and unanimous. There's never been, nobody ever believed it was countries that 4 months ago didn't like each other, and now they're all aligned together. I mean, we've had countries calling me when they saw some of the killing with Hamas, saying, we'd love to go in and take care of the situation.
Yeah, I know, right? Violent group, not like us Americans, LOL. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, whether you think they're violent or not, they are ultimately seeking some type of liberation from an oppressive force, which is beyond America. This is the Americans being the third party again. This is between Hamas and Israel, let's be honest. And if they are violent and they're trying to kind of fight for their right to survive, for their right to party, like, my God, even the UN, there are certain provisions in the charters and the sign people that are signatories to being part of the United Nations. Like, you can use force, you can use violence to defend your sovereignty and your right to exist. So, like, you know, violent, okay, but like there are levels of justification on violence in this world. We all know that, right? Weird. I didn't know you spell Hamas, Israel. Very good. Dude, I'd laugh my ass off if someone said, Sheik, what are you going to do about Israel? Yeah, I know. The man changed the Department of Defense to war. But yeah, I know. Yeah, but yeah, there's always the violent ones.
Ourselves. In addition, you have Israel would go in 2 minutes if I asked him to go in. I could tell him, go in and take care of it. But right now we haven't said that. We're going to give it a little chance, and hopefully there will be a little less violence. But right now, you know, they're violent people. Hamas has been very violent. But they don't have the backing of Iran anymore. They don't have the backing of really anybody anymore. They have to be good. And if they're not good, they'll be eradicated.
That's so loud.
Were any innocent civilians killed
not
in
you.
the Caribbean.
Mr. President,
Not you.
Mr. President.
On Russian
Go on,
military,
please.
could the Prime Minister weigh in on more on the processing for
On the
rare earths?
process, and can Australia expand the process of rare earths?
Absolutely we can, and we have the capacity to do so, and part of this deal is very specific, $8.5 billion pipeline. There'll be $1 billion contributed from Australia and the United States over the next 6 months with projects that are immediately available. There's 3 groups of projects, ones that are joint activities between Australia and the United States, such as Alcoa. Secondly is projects that will be US investment that the US will undertake in Australia, including processing, and then ones that Australia will undertake, some as well. One of them is Australia, the US and Japan as well. So what we're trying to do here is to take the opportunities which are there. Australia has had a view for some time, a bit similar to putting America first.
Right.
Our plan's called A Future Made in Australia, which is about not just digging things up and exporting them, but how do we make sure that we have across the supply chains with our friends being able to benefit, seize those opportunities. So we certainly see part of what this is about isn't just digging things up, it's also about processing, including the joint ventures between Australia and the United States.
Prime Minister, can the US and Australia really compete with China? Aren't we decades behind in terms of the development of critical minerals and rare earths?
I don't know, man. I think a lot of Australians feel like we're getting shortchanged. I think that's the sentiment that's coming out of the chat. Like, chat will correct me. But we see it like we've got a lot more chips on the table here, and so we should have a better bargaining position. Now, we've been giving a lot of flack as a nation to Albanese because it's taken 9 months for him to meet Trump. That's a problem apparently, but like everyone's been upset that he's taken so long to do this, and they think that's put us at a weakened position. It wouldn't appear that way. It seems that Trump is, quite happy to meet with Albo and talk shop and say that we're amazing friends, the best friends ever. We go to war with each other, all that sort of stuff. But like, I think people feel like we're being shortchanged in terms of the value of rare earths that come from, our territory. Let's call it. The value that's being extracted there is potentially just going to be handed over to the US, or going to be in the control of the US. Like, we should be profiting as a nation from that value. So I don't think people are too happy with it in that regard. And I think some people would have seen this as a chance to eliminate any tariffs that Australia has imposed on goods that we export to the US. There's the blanket 10%, but like Trump kind of was like, well, you got the cheapest tariffs out of anyone, the lowest tariffs out of anyone, so stop your whinging. So I think people feel like we're being shortchanged out of our rare earth minerals out of this one. I think that's the sentiment that is coming through. But like, there's been a lot of speculation about like how our leader, Supreme Leader Albo, should handle this Trump situation. Should he be firm with Trump? Should he placate Trump? Should he lick his ass? Like, there's been a lot of that sort of. Do you think China will counteract in any way? Well, it seems that a lot of this has been about rare earths, and China dominates the industry, like the processing of rare earths, by like 90%, and they have some of the largest actual deposits of rare earth minerals in concentrations that are workable. So China kind of would only counteract if it feels threatened, I guess, in regards to Australia being a place that can now process stuff. Now, if you've got a monopoly, like 90% is pretty much a control of the global industry. If you foresee that Australia's uptick in its industrial capacity for processing rare earth minerals is a threat, then yeah, they might threaten us. They might even, say, if you do this, we're going to cut you off from access to rare earth minerals or something else, or they're going to impose tariffs on us. They've done it before, where they've, out of a conglomeration of certain nations. They've made an example of us to scare off like the Japanese and the Europeans. They've engaged in trade war with us before and put tariffs on goods to kind of discipline parts of our economy for moving away from like China's kind of the way it sees our economic relationship. So they could. I have no idea if they will end up responding in that fashion or not. This is a really long range kind of plan here about how do we get involved in processing. It takes a lot of time to develop this industry. Do you think this move is related at all? Let's have a look. I would like to know more. Later. Go away. To hit back at the United States in their trade war, China borrows from the US playbook. Washington AP. China likes to condemn the United States for extending its arm too far outside its borders to make demands on non-American companies. But when it sought to hit back at the US interest this month, Beijing did exactly the same. In expanding export rules on rare earths, Beijing for the first time announced it will require foreign firms to obtain approval from the Chinese government to export magnets containing very tiny amounts of China-originated rare earth materials or produced with Chinese technology. That means a South Korean smartphone maker must ask for Beijing's permission to sell the devices to Australia if the phones contain China-originated rare earth minerals, said Jameson Greer, I guess, the US trade representative. This rule gives China control over basically the entire global economy in the technology supply. So that's interesting how it works, isn't it? So in expanding, Beijing for the first time announced it would require foreign firms to obtain approval from the Chinese government to export magnets containing very tiny amounts. That means a South Korean smartphone maker must ask Beijing's permission to sell the devices to Australia. So this is like an example, right? But like this affects the entire world, doesn't it? For anyone familiar with US trade practice, China is simply borrowing a decades-long US policy, the Foreign Direct Product Rule. It extends the reach of US law to foreign-made products and has been used regularly to restrict China's access to certain technologies made outside of the United States when they are in the hands of foreign companies. It is the latest example of Beijing turning the US precedents for tools it needs to stare down Washington in what appears to be an extended trade war between the world's two largest economies. China is learning from the best, said Neil Thomas, a fellow on Chinese politics, Asia Society Policy Institute Center for China Analysis. Beijing is copying Washington's playbook because it saw firsthand how effectively US export controls could constrain its own economic development and political choices. Game recognizes game. Yeah, look, it could be in relation to that, but I think it's just, I think, because I have heard other people speaking about this, and the sentiment that I've gotten from other people or listening to other people speak about this is this was always the plan. Like China in like good old Marxian analysis of capital style understands that true power in the world economy comes from in industry, or comes from your productive capacity, to use proper Marxian analysis. And so China completely had a plan to corner the world market for rare earths, and it understood that like how strategically important rare earths were going to be in an increasingly advanced society based on technologies that connect everything. Everything is now part of the Internet of Things, from your, I don't know, your fridge to your car, to your surveillance cameras, your lights, like whatever you have in the home that's potentially electronic now has a microchip in it and can potentially be connected to the internet of some sort, or it requires a battery of some sort. And like China knew that ages ago, and so they dominated the industry, absolutely like subsidized it to hell, used state-owned enterprises to ensure that they fully controlled the global supply, because they were able to process it cheaper than anyone else. And so everyone else just kind of shut down and were like, yeah, let the Chinese do it if they really want to do it. And again, like as I was saying before, the environmental cost is huge. And so other people didn't want to have to deal with the pollutants and the issues, the actual environmental costs, not the real environmental costs, but the actual cost of like having to do all the environmental stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let the Chinese kind of do it. And China will have always played that book and understood how capitalism works. And so now they're just pulling in, they're just calling the shots. They control the supply chains. No one can like actually bring up production capacity to meet like what its actual real demand in the world economy. And China knows that. And so it's now pulling out. It's throwing its weight around basically. And so yeah, if like Australia's doing some deal with America to shore up its processing capacity of rare earth minerals that it has already on site, then then like this may be in regards to that, because yeah, China has all of the cards, and so they're just pulling on those tactics. And like, they might as well start using it then, because other people are starting to shore up and getting onto the game. Because this happened to Japan. China, like 10, 15 years ago, there was some fight over one of the islands that are in dispute between China and Japan. And China, in response to that, cut Japan off from its rare earth mineral supplies. So like fully processed rare earth mineral supplies, and Japan turned to Australia to start this process. And so we started getting into the processing thing, because Japan were like, well, we need an alternative, because China's going to do this sort of stuff. And so China's done it to Japan before. If they, in this example, they do it to someone like Australia, like anyone who produces a smartphone that has a battery in it, that it includes some magnet that has rare earths that China has produced, and like they need to get approval before they sell it on to anyone else, then that's kind of similar kind of tactics as what they were using on Japan. And so this is just going to actually push people more towards an Australian style deal, but they'll punish Australia in the meantime. They've used Australia before to kind of teach the world a lesson, or to teach other significant Western players a lesson. So they could be doing the same thing again, just teaching us all a lesson. Going to be interesting to hear Geordie's take on this whole situation. Yeah. Do you think China will counteract in any way? Yeah. Interesting.
Reading the wrong newspapers.
Can the US and Australia really compete with China? Aren't we decades behind in terms of the development of critical minerals and rare earths?
You've been reading the wrong newspapers. We're not decades. We are way ahead of China militarily, the United States. We're way ahead of them in every form of military, other than they're building a lot of ships, and we'll have that started. We'll be catching them on that.
When it comes to critical minerals,
we
Mr.
will,
President?
when it comes to weaponry, when it comes to, I'll go right now, AI. The big thing is AI. They're building more plants in this country than anybody ever imagined. We're going to have over $20 trillion of investment for this year, where the most we ever had was a tiny fraction of that. As an example, Biden, who's the worst president in the history of our country by far, by the way, but they were less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're already now breaking $18 trillion of investment in 8 months. 18 trillion. No country in history has ever done that. We're way ahead of China in AI, and we're way ahead of China militarily from the standpoint of the sophisticated weapons. We have weapons that a lot of people don't even know about it. I got them started 4 years ago. I rebuilt the military 4 years ago, fortunately, because Biden didn't do anything but give a piece of it away to Afghanistan. Fortunately, as much as it sounded like it was a small part of what I built, but the Afghanistan giveaway was one of the worst. That was probably the most embarrassing day in the period in the history of our country. But we have the greatest military. We have the best equipment. We have the best manufacturers of equipment. We have the best weapons. When you look at our weapons, I've been talking a lot about our weapons. Everybody wants our weapons. But it's great to be working with Anthony. It's great to be working with the people of Australia because they also, I mean, it's a smaller country, but you have done a fantastic job in weaponry and the kind of things that we do a lot of joint work together. Our militaries work very, very closely together. We've been really an amazing ally when you think of it, right? There's never been any games. We're strongly committed, and they're strongly committed. There are some games with other countries, but there haven't been games with Australia. Where do you come from?
I'm from Australia.
Who are you with?
The Sydney Morning Herald.
This dude is comedically unhinged in every possible way. Which leader are we talking about here? Talking about yours?
Nasty guy. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm from Australia.
Who are you with?
The Sydney Morning Herald.
Nasty guy. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Did he just hear that wrong? Press X for doubt. What happened to the footage just then? King Trump. What happened? The footage just died. The ABC coverage died. Look at that. That's really weird. The ABC coverage died. Oh, it was a funny moment too. Boo. ABC, boo.
Mr. President, when you spoke with President Putin on Thursday, did you discuss his ongoing attacks on civilian areas in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Did you say cut it out? Did you say show an article of good faith to me?
I did. But as you know, most of the people dying are soldiers. The soldiers that are dying in Russia and Ukraine, it's unbelievable. 5,000 to 7,000 a week. Can you believe it? And I look at
Can
that
you believe
and I
it?
say it's pretty amazing.
That
But
goes
in
up
addition-
every time he says that stat. That goes up by another 1,000. The first time he said that, it was like 2,000 to 3,000. Now it's 5,000 to 7,000 Russians are dying away.
That there are attacks on Kiev and some of the other places, and it's human lives. But the big number of human lives is soldiers that are being killed in the battlefield. Anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000, sometimes more than that every single week. It's not even believable. It's a bloodbath. It's the worst since the Second World War, the worst number of people. And you know, it doesn't affect us in any way. We don't pay anything because now they pay us for the weapons that they get. The NATO is paying us for the weapons, as you know. It doesn't affect, I guess you could say that's a positive thing. They pay us, but I'm not interested in that. I did straighten it out. Biden gave them $350 billion. Can you believe it? And all they did is get deeper in. It's a shame. Gave them $350 billion. A lot of lives were lost. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. But we do speak about that. I speak about all of the lives, but I do speak about the civilian lives.
The First Lady has done such an amazing job on the Ukrainian children who were abducted by Russia. Would you support Senator Lindsey Graham's bill to declare Russia a terrorist state? And you have within your power the most powerful man on earth. Why don't you just enable Ukraine to finish this war tomorrow?
That was clever. No, that's how you ask a question of Trump. Just remind him that he's the most powerful man on earth. Hey, he's going to answer that question. He'll have her back for dinner.
Tomorrow. Well, if you knew anything about what you were talking about, you'd be able. You do. I don't think you do. Really.
They
I don't
just
think
need
you
the
do
weapons.
because it's a little more complicated than that. But it sounds easy. We're in the process of trying to make a deal. If we make a deal, that's great. If we don't make a deal, it'll be. A lot of people are going to be paying a big price.
And on the abducted children, and on the abducted children, Mr. President.
President Trump, so a question to both of you, if you don't mind.
I love his haircut. I'm going to try that. No, I love it. Go ahead.
So, as you all know, China controls 90% of the global supply of critical minerals. They have launched attacks on Australian companies, primarily Lynas Rare Earths. What will happen to China if they don't play fair with this?
So, it's a very interesting question. We have a tremendous power, and that's the power of tariff. And I think that China will come to the table and make a very fair deal, because if they don't, they're going to be paying us 157% in tariffs. Right now, they're paying 55 to 57%. When I was first president and first term, we had the greatest economy we've ever had. And as you know, people don't write too much about it, but China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars worth of money for tariffs. Biden left it, but he didn't enforce it. He gave exceptions to almost everything. And so he left the tariffs, but he didn't really collect the numbers that he should have collected, and because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. So now the tariffs are much higher on China than they were before, and they're high on other countries depending on whether or not we like that country or we get along, and that's for national security purposes. So I made deals with Japan, I made deals with the European Union, or the whole of Europe practically, but the European Union, made deals with a lot of different people. We have a very fair deal for, I will say, Australia's paying a low number. They do have, I'll change it, we have a little bit of an advantage on that one. I told you, the advantage we have is airplanes. We sell a lot of...
That's what we were talking about before. Like, does he actually understand how tariffs work? Like, China paid the tariffs, or the American people paid the tariffs on Chinese goods. Yeah, that is the real thing. Now, you could argue that maybe it's just the business sector. Like, once they import it in, they're paying the tariffs. If you're importing stuff in from China, you pay the tariff at the border or wherever they hit you up as it comes through the port or what have you. But they pass that on to the consumer. So yeah, the American people are paying this tariff. It's like the language is so important here, and like he fucking knows. But like it's the era of post-truth. It's the era of truth social. Like, these are Trump's truths. Like, China's paying 55%. China will pay 155%. China ain't paying shit. Like, China will not pay shit. Like, in terms of like paying. They may have a hit because people on the other side may be like, oh man, like, let's reduce our orders, or like, let's just find another place to get the same supplies. So we're going to get hit up by 55% tariffs. We get hit up by like 10% or 20%. So they might lose. They might lose orders. They might lose productive capacity or consumption demand as a result of it. But they're not paying anything. But the language is, if you say it enough, it's true. That's what we were speaking about before. And he just keeps repeating that over and over again. China's paying this. China's paying that. Like, you, Australia, you're only paying 10%. You're only paying 10% on our tariffs. I don't think that Australia is paying 10%, actually. I think it is people that are on American soil. Once our products get there, they get hit up. And so, like, nobody wants to be that guy whose products are hit with a higher tariff than anyone else. Sure, but they pass the cost down to the consumer. Look at the record profits they constantly report. Yeah, 100%. They, like, the business itself pays it up front for importing whatever they need to make their product or to on-sell their product. But they make the choice, though. They make the choice. They don't have to pass on that cost to the consumer. They don't have to pass the price, but they will. They're not going to absorb that, or not in its entirety anyway. But yeah, I see the price tags constantly going up. And the thing is, there's been a lag time because a lot of companies saw this coming after, what was it called? Liberation Day, wasn't it? And so they knew it was coming, and so they held a lot of inventory, or as much inventory as they could, to get around the problem with the tariffs, because they thought if it, goes back and forth for a few months, but everything settles because, Trump always chickens out, then maybe that would be okay. But now things are coming into play. The lag time is caught up, and the increased prices are going to be passed on to the consumer now, unless the business sector decides, or whoever's importing goods decides, hey, we're not going to pass those costs on. Fat chance. The way he talks about tariffs, I really have doubts he understands how they actually work. It's not a tax on the country. You take the tariffs on. No, it's not. But like, if he says it enough, it just sounds like it's true. Right? Like, China's paying 155%. China.
Of airplanes to them, and they need them. It's a very vibrant place, and people go in and out.
Yeah, he frames the tariff like it's some kind of weapon to strike fear, but it's not.
And I look forward to going there myself, and I think it's unlikely I'll be taking a ship. It's a long
journey.
But China has treated us with great respect. Now, in the past, they didn't treat other presidents with great respect. They would take hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars out of the country, and they would spend it and build their military. Now they're treating us with great respect. Now, we'll see what happens. I said, if we don't make a deal, I'm putting on an additional 100% on November 1st. I think we'll make a deal. They threatened us with rare earths, and I threatened them with tariffs, but I could also threaten them with many other things, like airplanes. You know about airplanes, because they can't get parts for their airplanes. We build their airplanes. We do a great job. They're largely Boeings, and we could stop the parts. We did stop the parts, actually, when they did the initial threat. That's a big... They closed down over 400 of their airplanes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when will people put together? So Americans love buying shit, so they will keep paying the higher prices. But like, at what point will the threshold be reached? And like, people are like, wait a minute, things are more expensive now. I wonder if this has got anything to do with these tariffs. I wonder if people will put two and two together. They need to be reminded constantly of the economic state of things. They need to be constantly reminded that this is a result of tariff policy and not just like, I don't know, woke policy or yeah, all the Chinese or something like that. Like we're experiencing this cost of living crisis or this increase to our general costs as a result of this policy decision or these policy decisions. And they need to be reminded because these are direct economic issues which impact working people. They need to be reminded that this is the type of result that you have. That's the type of stuff. That's the language that people will pay attention to. Like, oh, wait, this was a result of this? No way. When the private equity / AI bubble pops, millions of people are out of a job and their retirement savings are gone. Yeah, the country will be ripe. And so maybe that's why all the troops are hanging out. They're getting some practice in before and riots come. The cost of living riots come. Tariffs have thrown everything out. A lot of things that you used to be able to get accessibly are now out of reach. The economy is taking a hit. GFC 2.0, and then people just be kind of replaced anyway with the AI that they've been kind of training for the last, I don't know, couple of years at that point to try and replace as many people in the economy as possible. Unless Trump thinks by lowering energy prices it offsets the tariffs and the retail prices stay the same. But it doesn't explain how other countries are paying tariffs to America. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's a hard one. Like, yeah, if he offsets some other prices here and there, like energy costs, then yeah, that's a good kind of balancing act. But will it really offset the costs of, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of China, right? There's a lot of stuff that comes out of China. China. It is still the world's manufacturing hub, that's for sure.
But we don't want to do that. But we have a much simpler thing. If we don't make a deal, we'll charge them a very substantial tariff. And they'll be paying us hundreds of billions of dollars a year, which they're basically paying right now. We had presidents that allowed China and other countries get away with murder. We're not going to allow that, but we're going to have a fair deal. I want to be good to China. I love my relationship with President Xi. We have a great relationship. I believe after we leave South Korea, we'll be there together. We thought that would be a good place to meet, and we're going to be meeting. I'll be in Malaysia, I'll be in Japan, I'll be in a couple of others. We'll be sort of doing a little bit of a tour. I've been invited to go to China, and I'll be doing that sometime fairly early next year. We have it sort of set, but I think we're going to have a very good relationship with China, and again, they will...
The last financial crisis allowed the techno-feudalists to build up the infrastructure. The next one will help them finalize the plan. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like a lot of these big social media companies, or yeah, just general tech companies, let's say, like your Googles, right? Your Apples, they were there during the crisis, and because it was a crisis spurred on generally in the financial sector and like the housing market, they kind of had all of this money to burn at that point, and so they were able to invest significantly, and they were even able to draw the money. So like all the money that was coming into the economy as a result of the GFC to try and stimulate things, they were the companies with all of the money, like a lot of like spare capital, and so the banks that were giving out, you know, almost 0% interest, if not like less than that, they were literally giving away money. They were giving them to people like Google and big tech companies because they had extra capital, and they were like, you're a safe person to give money to, go and spend this on something. Now a lot of them, they bought back their shares, but they also spent the time building up their empires. And so like the next one will allow them to finalize the plan, their next phase, right, to actually use that infrastructure to take a further hold over the entirety of the economy. And like if there's a massive displacement of workers as a result of that, then like they can move in with their AI that they've been testing now for the last couple of years and try and justify the integration of more AI into the economy and the removal of more workers, right? You can already see how dependent the tech industry is on Amazon AWS just from the outage they had today. Yes, like I was thinking I might not even be able to stream today because that AWS that went down. The Restream software that I use relies on Amazon infrastructure, and like, you know, there it is. How many businesses are affected by that? Like they control the digital highways, whether we like it or not. Their means of production is a thing that connects businesses today. Before it was the banking systems, the independent banking systems of places around the world, the international finance network. Billions of dollars lost in business because of that outage. Yeah, like the control they have over the economy because they control that digital highway. It might have been the financial sector or the banking sector that had such reach before. Only because people all had to do some type of trading and financial to square up their finances and balance sheets at the end of working days, and so the banks help do that. But now it's all done electronically, and it's all done through the tech giants and their infrastructure. Now, some of that infrastructure is physical. It's owned by some telecommunications companies or privatized on behalf and run on behalf of states to provide services to everyone. But a lot of the software is completely controlled as private means of production and held by these people and like conglomerated as well. It's not like there's thousands and thousands of options for you to choose your software and your operating systems to run off. It really comes down to a select few number of companies. And when they go down, like, you know, you have to even question, like when they do things like going down, are they testing the waters to see what happens? Are they just saying like, if we just hold everyone to ransom for like 6 hours or something like that, 10 hours, and just see what happens to the economy? Like, you know, they've all got insurances. They've got, you know, endless reserves to dip into. It's the businesses that get affected, and what are they going to do? All right, what are they going to do? Go to someone else? Huh? You going to go somewhere else for your business? I think not. So like, what if they're just testing the waters to see what happens to the economy and how much control they have over things? It's a scary surveillance capitalist world that we live in. And like techno-feudalism just around the corner. Completely beholden to a number of companies to provide the means for all of our digitization. It's scary. It's really scary stuff. So, like, you can say that socialism is providing welfare and regulating capital all you want, all right? But it's got nothing to do with that. It's really got to do with who owns the means of production. And at the moment, and this AWS thing is just a prime example, isn't it? Like, these private entities own the means of production that the entire world's economy feeds off now. And like, they do one thing and it brings down a significant sector of the world economy. It's crazy. I saw some headlines from an article that said the AWS CEO claim that 75% of its code is pushed by AI. Makes me wonder how true that is and how much they played into the outage and how much that played into the outage. Yes. Yeah, imagine if it was a result of like poor AI. But like, you know, these type of things got to be sorted out. So sacrifices need to be made, right? It's like when they bring in some new type of power generation into a grid, and there's blackouts from time to time until they fix the system and get it more foolproof. Maybe this is what happens when you start integrating AI in. It's going to make mistakes until they can shore it up and the AI learns a lesson. It's going to be funny when Trump goes to invest into AI in Australia as part of Albo's plan, then asks where our nuclear plants are. Yeah. But how are you going to power it? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, let's let this rabble finish off now.
Threaten us with rare earths. I don't think they're threatening us too much right now, but they.
The ABC coverage is
That's tariffs, because at a certain point, they will not be able to do any business with us. At a certain point, if they pay enough tariffs, it's almost like saying, we don't want to do business with you, but it's probably nicer. Saying you're going to pay 158, 157% tariff is a nicer way of saying that we don't want to do business with you. And if they don't do business with us, I think China's in big trouble, I'll be honest with you. I think China is, I don't know that they even make it. I really do. I believe that they're in big trouble. And I don't want them to be in big trouble. I want them to do great. I want them to thrive. But we have to thrive together. It's a two-way street. I think when we finish our meetings, and it's going to be a big deal. Look, I'm meeting with a lot of other countries, but this seems to be the one that people are very interested in. I think when we finish our meetings in South Korea, China and I will have a really fair and really great trade deal together. I want them to buy soybeans. They stopped buying our soybeans because they thought that was punishment. And it is punishment to our farmers, but we're not going to allow that to happen, because I made a great trade deal with China, a $50 billion trade deal, and they were great about it. They were doing everything that they were supposed to do. And then when Biden came in, you know, I used to call President Xi all the time to say, thank you, or you're not buying enough. In other words, they were supposed to buy. Biden, do you think Biden ever called him? I don't think Biden ever called him. You think Biden lied awake at night thinking about trade with China? He didn't know what he was doing. He was an incompetent president. We had an incompetent president, but you don't have that anymore. So I think we're going to end up having a fantastic deal with China. It's going to be a great trade deal. It's going to be fantastic for both countries, and it's going to be fantastic for the entire world. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. All right, it's finally come out. Let's see.
During the mostly...
This is all I got from Sky News. I'm sure LARP Jeff has already checked this out. It was 4 hours ago. Let's have a look here. Let's get the real take on this one. We've seen the fucking thing now. We've seen the whole interview. Sorry, the whole press conference anyway. So we know what they spoke about. So let's see how this one is going to be spun in the media. But like the heading so far is not bad. Donald Trump says there is no country better for the US than Australia. So there's positive stuff there, but I'm sure it's going to be spun into the trash talking negative spin there. So let's have a look.
The friendly meeting, President Trump also seemed to confirm the AUKUS security pact will go ahead. But in one tense exchange, Donald Trump took aim at Australia's ambassador, Kevin Rudd. Here is the meeting.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to have the friends over Albanese, and but here to talk big oil.
Is it just summary of the meeting?
You gotta watch that. You're not allowed to break that. That mirror is 400 years old.
Ah, it's just shots from the meeting.
Just hit the mirror.
See, Sky News is a bit lazy.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey? I don't think I can give you guys some entertaining Sky News stuff on this one. They haven't done it yet. This is cuts from the meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. It's an honor to sign this, and we'll do it now. And then we'll be happy.
Critical Minerals Security Program
Director of Critical. Live is the Centre for Strategic and International Studies Director of Critical Minerals Security Program. Her name is Gracelyn Bhaskaran. Gracelyn, thanks so much for your time. What do you make of the deal? An $8 billion deal. Is the US getting the best out of us?
Thanks so much for having me. It's a great day to be here. This is a really big deal because this is the first major deal where rubber hits the road. We've had a lot of agreements to agree over the last 10 years when it comes to minerals. We've signed MOUs, we've signed partnerships, we've had forums, but today is a day that we commit to actually spending the money that we need to make some of these really critical investments get off the road. It talks about things like offtake agreements, price floors, protecting the market from adversarial acquisitions of our assets to ensure that we're not handing them off to the wrong countries. So really, this has rolled out such a good toolkit for both of our countries.
Yeah, I guess the big question for us, and perhaps the US and Trump care a little less because they'll see it as a big win, but the big question for Australia is how China might react.
There it is.
That's difficult because historically we know that the Australian mining sector and China are a highly vertically integrated industry. We know that Australia's minerals have historically gone to China for processing. But at the same time, you have to remember there's been a series of escalating rare earth export restrictions from April until now. And all of these still impact Australia. Australia was not exempt to any of these restrictions. So at the end of the day, Australia needs to work in its own best self-interest, and where it sees strategic partnerships, especially where they relate to both minerals and...
Boo. Answer the question. Boo. She wouldn't say, is China going to do something there to retaliate? Boo. Now here comes the push to replace Rudd. Like that is somehow going to change anything. Oh, you reckon? Is that what is be the result of all of this? It's like, hey, Trump went after Rudd. So that's the...
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has met US President Donald Trump at the White House this morning, where Australia signed an $8.5 billion critical minerals deal with...
Well, it finally happened, and we begin with that breaking news. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Donald Trump are bonding, talking all things AUKUS at the White House.
Anthony Albanese, and he's highly respected, done very well in his election, and I hear you're very popular today.
A high-stakes meeting just took place. Key trade issues were discussed, but the headline, our relationship with the US is very much intact.
President Trump, sir, your message to the people of Australia. Love that.
But things did get a little awkward when the media asked about Ambassador Kevin Rudd.
Did an ambassador say something bad about it? Don't tell me. I don't.
Our political editor and Washington correspondent were in the room with the leaders for all of that totes AUKUS stuff. First to Charles Croucher. Charlie, good morning to you. It seems like Albo and Trump are getting along pretty well today.
Yeah, bonded well, Carl. I think any surprise or any thought that they might be some kind of rift between the pair is over. They seem man to man to get along, and any of the concerns coming in, AUKUS will go ahead, says the President. It may even expand. In terms of critical minerals, an $8.5 billion deal was signed in that cabinet room. Also the people around the table. There was Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, Marco Rubio, the Foreign Secretary and Secretary of State, also J.D. Vance.
It's like people feel really surprised by all of this. It's very interesting. I think they were just waiting to see Trump go off the rails, like Zelensky style. Off the top rope. Oh, God, he's out. And just take out Albo or something. Because he had not had a meeting with him yet. It took him 9 months to get on to that train and meet and kiss the ring. Yeah, people were really nervous about that. And, these are the same people. Remember when Albo, kind of first came in? When Trump first started his second stint, and he was kind of telling everyone that they need to increase their military spending. People were not happy about that, and like I said before, Albanese was like, "No, we do whatever we want. I don't listen to other leaders who tell everyone to increase their military spending. We do what we want." And people seemed happy about that, but supposedly nervous about this meeting. Very nervous. Whatever. Who cares? It's happened. And they had prearranged deals anyway, it seems. This was just a photo op. It was just a photo op. Now, we're going to change course here significantly, might I add. And there's been some stuff that's gone down in Palestine that Dr. Nathan has alerted me to and said we should check this out because this is pretty damning, unfortunately. Now, I don't know if this has got anything to do with the settlers, the peace deal, because the peace deal is obviously in regards to a particular section of Gaza, not even the entirety of Gaza. But like, we're gonna have to check this out. Give me a second. Gonna have to change that. I might do it on this tab here.
Oh, come on, don't fucking hit her! Hey! Oh my god.
Alright, so this is it says Israeli settlers brutally attacked Palestinian villages during first olive harvest. So probably be able to see that there. But so this is, I'm assuming, is not this is in the West Bank. Okay. So like, look, I'm not sure. I had to sign in to be able to watch this. So look away. This potentially might be violent if you're concerned about that.
Oh, come on, don't fucking hit her! Hey! Oh my god. Hey! 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 Hey, what are we? Right behind us. Oh, he's right here. He's right at the smash room. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Scary. Yeah, there it is.
Jesus.
Are the doors locked? Oh, fuck. You got it. Oh, come on. Don't fucking hit her! Hey! Oh my god. Hey! 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 Holy shit. Hey!
Jesus. What is going on here? What's it called? Shocking video shows Israeli settlers brutally attacking Palestinian farmers during the first olive harvest of the season in the occupied West Bank.
They're still right here. Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out! Where are they? They're right behind us. I'm gonna get out here. No. Somebody needs to document this. Let her in. You get in. You get in. You get in. يلا يا حاج يلا.
What is this guy doing here? Does it look for the Sora watermark? They're American journalists.
The soldiers set us up for this attack. They set everybody up to get attacked. We're blocked on one side, getting out by settlers with guns. There's one other way to get out. There's soldiers at the top. I got out to talk to them. And they said, yes, come up, come up. So we started going up. There were two settlers up there and a car whose windshield they had already busted. And then as soon as we got there, soldiers jetted off in their Jeep, left us alone with the settlers. Hey, press! Press! American press! American press!
Fucking wild, man. They're just gangs. It's crazy. They got baited. American journalists. Hold on. Are you saying that two tribal sand people can't stop killing each other? Israeli American? If I recall, they're journos who were told to go somewhere and then they got over. Interesting. So they were told to go somewhere. Maybe so they could capture it. Interesting. Dang, Automod don't like language. Language. Yeah, interesting. Hey? So like this is what people have been speaking about. Is that why you wanted to have a look at it? Indoctrinate them. Damn. And like to see the cry as well from that dude. Did we just sign a minerals deal that is going to help this crap even more? Yeah, potentially. But yeah, that guy is like, hey, American press. Hey, that's American privilege, you could say. Use that American privilege. Don't come any closer. I'm an American. That's crazy. Some peace deal they have there. See, but that's the thing. The peace deal doesn't apply to that. It doesn't apply to the West Bank. It only applies to Gaza. So, like, they're going to continue doing stuff in the West Bank. I'm sure it doesn't apply to the West Bank. We looked at that map, if you remember. It was only a yellow line around Gaza. Does Trump's 20-point peace plan relate to the entirety of Palestinian territory? Or only part of it? Oh man, it wasn't typing. Does Trump's 20-point peace plan relate to the entirety of Palestinian territory or only a portion of it? Passport privilege. Yeah. American world police. Well, under Trump, no longer. Just America. Is focused only on the Gaza Strip and not the entirety. The plan repeatedly mentions Gaza or the Gaza Strip specifically. Okay. Oh, well, it's all fair game then. Fuck. Does the peace deal draw any lines, you mean? Yeah, it does. It literally draws a yellow line around certain stuff. American exceptionalism didn't help the USS Liberty. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Groiper Wars. Eh? Didn't help. Definitely didn't help. I'm pretty sure there is an active debate on where the line in the sand ends and where the defensive destruction ring extends beyond that. Yeah, there's a massive debate, and they debate so heavily on it that like when people come close to this imaginary line, they shoot them with tanks. So there's the debate in that circumstance. That's crazy. Interesting. Well, thanks for sharing. A little bit somber. But like that stuff is not going to stop because of the peace plan. That's for sure. Hey, those settlers. Got to stop it all. Now, unless you missed this, Trump's been busy. And like I must have missed this, but Zelensky went over to see Trump in the White House like a few days ago. And they had another one of their meetings where Zelensky was supposed to kiss the ring in order to get Tomahawk missiles, which Trump's pretty much promised. As a result of their discussions last time, if you remember what happened over the last, I guess, developed over the last few weeks, was like Trump was basically pissed off with what Putin had been doing and not coming to the table. He was speaking about how, Zelensky's going to be able to... So it was actually at the UN. That's where Trump was saying it. At the UN General Assembly at the end of September. So a month ago, actually. Trump was basically saying that like Zelensky, the Ukrainians could end this war and then win back all of their regions. and we're going to be helping them. So they've stepped up and they've started providing them more satellite footage so they can have more targeted strikes. And the talk on the table was that they were going to start providing them with these Tomahawk missiles. And so they were going to be able to do long-range strategic shots into Russia. Now, as a result of that, well, what that would amount to is not only the fact that they could, target Russian civilians. It's always fucking, real people that die as a result of this stuff, as opposed to, the state officials, statesmen, or like soldiers or something like that. It'll just be Russian civilians that will be impacted. But as a result of this idea that they're providing them with extra surveillance information so they can have more accurate strikes, but more long-range strikes potentially through Tomahawks, the idea was centered around the notion of taking out Russian infrastructure, specifically Russian energy infrastructure, so pumping stations in certain regions, which would cut off Russia's ability to provide oil to certain black markets or certain key strategic players, so they could get their income coming in. And so that was the plan, where they were going to take out Russian energy infrastructure to cut off Russia's basically its income. Its world trade income, so it could continue funding the war. Now, Trump has seemingly had some complete change of heart here. So this is interesting geopolitically, because if Ukraine got access to certain missile technology and with the surveillance technology, they would have actually started striking, I think, again, key energy infrastructure. Now, it would seem that was on the cards for a second, but Trump's chickened out of that. And it's probably because there's probably American companies that are invested in Russia. Like, Russia still uses, this is crazy, even with all their sanctions, the Russians still use American companies to be able to kind of drill for oil in very hard terrain and difficult places. And they use American technology to be able to get there. Americans seem to be, the world standard in drilling in harsh conditions. Like, if you ever seen the movie Armageddon, like, the Americans are, they have crack team specialists, and they've got the best technology and the best teams to go out and like drill in some harsh environments. And so it would probably seem that there's some section of the bourgeoisie out there, I'm not sure if they're European or they're American, and they've probably turned around and been like, no, we don't want you to give them the means to destroy infrastructure. We want you to end this war, Trumpy boy, end the war, tell Zelensky to suck it up, he's not getting the Donbass region back, and do not destroy infrastructure that pertains to energy. We got a lot of money to make out of these two countries, and don't things up. So Trump's turned around and is like, no, we're not giving you Tomahawks. Now, obviously this isn't a dispute, and Trump could change his mind if he feels offended by Putin or something like that, but I don't know. This is an interesting development, because this is not the rhetoric that was coming out over the last couple of weeks. It was kind of seemed like it was almost a done deal that they were going to get these missiles and start, really striking deep into the heart of Russia's territory. Trump said no in public, just that peace was soon. Ukraine has targeted oil infrastructure pretty well recently, which has had an impact on inflation in Russia. I think the Tomahawk was all posturing. AFAIK, AFAC, I don't know how to say that. Those are typically missiles fired from the sea, as the land infra is super bulky and unwieldy. Russia hasn't had crazy inflation, so war hasn't impacted people as directly. And these targets mean not harming civilians, but making them feel the war. Drones have been effective. Oil riggers are so elite, it's easier to train them as astronauts than it is to train astronauts how to drill holes. Oh, as far as I know. Oh, okay, fair enough, thanks. As far as I know, those are typically missiles fired from the seas, as the land infrastructure is super bulky and unwieldy. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yes, funny times. Train Armageddon. Yeah. But yeah, it would seem that they're turning back on some of these grander plans to really take out Russian infrastructure deep in Russian territory, let's say. So I wonder if someone's gotten into Trump's ears, some powerful mogul that exists on his administration, which are all, they're all billionaires in his administration and his coterie of advisors and things like that, and key posts. Maybe someone's got some interest there, and they're like, look, can we not up Russia? Like, we can finish the war. You can get peace, broker some peace deal, and like, let us continue to make money here. What's wrong with you? So I wonder, Brian would be saying right now, follow the money. So I wonder what's changed the interest in supporting them.
Sir, a few weeks ago in New York when you two met, you said that you think Ukraine could ultimately take back all the territory that it's lost so far. Do you still think that's the case, or do you think there'll have to be some sort of
You
swaps
never
of
know.
territories?
War is very interesting. You never know, do you? You just never know. With war and peace, but you never know.
Tomahawk supply to Ukraine as an escalation, yet it continues using similar cruise missiles like Caliber. And even
Who are you with? Who are you with? Ukraine?
Yeah.
Good.
But Russia continue even using the cruise missiles and also nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in Ukraine since 2022. So do you consider providing Ukraine with the Tomahawk or similar missiles as an opportunity to equalize the possibilities of Ukraine and Russia and push Moscow to the negotiation table?
Sure. We're going to be talking about that. That's why we're here. Okay? Fair question. Exactly as he told you to say it. But we're going to be talking about it. Okay? Yeah, please.
Mr. President, message to India and Hungary, who is still refusing.
You said India and Hungary? That's an interesting.
And Hungary.
India and Hungary. It's an interesting combination.
Refuse to stop buying Russian oil.
Well, India is not going to be buying Russian oil anymore. And Hungary is sort of stuck because they have one pipeline that's been there for years and years and years, and they're inland. They don't have sea. They don't have sea. And I spoke with the very great leader of Hungary, and they are, it's very hard for them to get oil. I understand it. Hungary's in a very interesting position because they can't have ports. They're surrounded by land. So we'll see what happens there. But India will not be buying oil from Russia. And they've already de-escalated, and they've more or less stopped. They're pulling back. They bought about 38% of the oil, and they won't be doing it anymore.
Mr. President, Trump has been helping you in achieving peace in Ukraine.
Who has?
First Lady Melania Trump has been helping in returning abducted Ukrainian children from Russian captivity. President Zelensky, do you appreciate those efforts? How do you assess them? And did you ask her to step in and to help you?
No, she wanted to do it. She just felt very strongly about the children, and she's done a really good job, I think, in bringing it to the fore. We have a lot of children involved. Now, it's some people say it's 20,000, and some people say it's 300. There's a big difference between that, so nobody really knows. But she felt very strongly about the children. She thinks about the children all the time.
President Trump, if you okay Tomahawks to Ukraine,
Jerry Poppins
what's
in the
going to
house.
happen
Welcome.
if the United States is in a conflict and we need the Tomahawks? Do we have enough?
That's the problem. We need Tomahawks, and we need a lot of other things that we've been sending over the last 4 years to Ukraine. We've been, we gave them a lot. Now we have a different situation. We send it to the European Union. They pay for it and all that, and they have plenty of money. But it's beyond the money. We need Tomahawks, and we need a lot of other weapons that we're sending to Ukraine. One of the reasons we want to get this war over is exactly that. It's not easy for us to give. You're talking about massive numbers of very powerful weapons. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about. Hopefully they won't need it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about Tomahawks. I think we're fairly close to that. Yeah, go ahead. President, yeah, please. President, yeah, please.
Just you to understand. So for today,
of course, we want to finish this war, but the war is another technological war. You don't use just tomahawks. If you want to target a military goal, you need thousands of drones. It goes together with such missiles. Ukraine has such thousands of our production drones, but we don't have tomahawks. That's why we need tomahawks. But United States is a very strong production, and the United States has tomahawks and other missiles, very strong missiles, but they can have our thousands of drones. That's why where we can work together, where we can strengthen American production.
And so just so that I understand, so you're suggesting kind of a trade. If President Trump okays Tomahawk missiles to help you launch...
Yes, it's about
Russia,
military goals. It's only about military goals.
Right, but then you would authorize some kind of an exchange where...
Yes, of course.
The US
yes, we have proposition. We have big proposition with our drones.
President Trump, I don't mean to be brokering an arms deal here, but is that something that you would be interested in, Ukrainian drones?
Yeah, we would. We have a lot of drones right now. We build our own drones, but we also buy drones from others, and they make a very good drone. I mean, drone warfare has really come to the fore.
I think this is the most important part about what's going on in Ukraine at the moment, is that, like, this is a testing facility. Like, no one really gives a shit about what happens to all the people that are dying. Like, he's always quoting how there's, 6,000 people dying a day, or they're all Russians, and they're all dying. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's mostly soldiers, like the usual rhetoric. But the real value in what's going on in the Ukraine right now, and that's what these guys are asking about, is in drones. Like, the Ukrainians are figuring out exactly how the drone technology is supposed to be working in the modern battlefield. And like the Europeans are watching what the Ukrainians are up to, how they're battling against the Russians, what the Russians are up to, because the Russians are kind of, you could say, are a front for the combined axis of evil. Like, so the Russians are the testing ground for themselves, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans. They're all like sitting back and figuring out what type of drone tactics are working. And like, they've got quite the production house over there. One that the West, like as in the EU and the US, aren't really able to match at the moment. So the Ukraine is a great testing ground for all the drone technology. And it's interesting they bring up the fact that, if we give you Tomahawks, are you going to give us access to your drones? Like, the Americans actually want something out of the Ukrainians in terms of military hardware. They want to know what changes are being made on a daily basis. This is a very organic style, like a lot of warfare. Like, you're really changing tactics and technologies in the cat and mouse game with your enemy. And so you're making small changes, but vital changes on almost a daily basis to make sure your technology is just one step ahead of the game, so you can be most effectual. And that's where the real value of the Ukraine is at the moment. So there is a lot of value keeping this war going, just to see, not only from the destruction that happens in terms of destroying military equipment that needs to be replaced, so we better increase our productive capacity, but like also, testing ground to see who's got the edge in modern warfare. And so the Ukrainian skills and their drone tactics are quite valuable at the moment, it would seem.
Over the last couple of years because of this war. I will say, there's nothing like the jets. We knocked out a lot of drones in Israel. We were knocking them out for Israel. And we were doing it with extremely fast and powerful jets, following the drones and knocking the hell out of them. So, we know a lot about the drones, and we know a lot about the great jets, the great ones. The ones, and the B-52s, which were totally they were stealth. They were undetectable. So we have a lot of different weapons.
You can't let go of this.
And, I have an obligation also, though, to make sure that we're completely stocked up as a country, because you never know what's going to happen in war and peace, right? You never know what's going to happen. So we're going to be talking about Tomahawks, and would much rather have them not need Tomahawks. Would much rather have the war be over, to be honest, because, we're in it to get the war over. We're selling a lot of different types of weapon as you know, to the European Union. We're not in it for that. We're in it to get it over. We're losing thousands of people a week, thousands of people. Russian, Ukrainian, and mostly soldiers. I mean, mostly soldiers.
It's the same thing every time. So fast, the most powerful. Yeah. Mostly soldiers. Thousands of people. They're all dying. Mostly soldiers. We want to stop the war. Yeah, until you don't. Eh? Like, this situation is so difficult to follow in terms of where they sit with this one, the Americans. Trump before speaking to Putin, we have a lot of tomahawks. Trump after speaking to Putin, we don't have enough tomahawks. This guy could be influenced by a calm breeze. That's so funny. India is never going to stop buying Russian oil. Yeah, I don't think so. Someone's making too much money and they're too close to the US or to Europeans or something like that for this to actually be good. For this to be a good deal. Dilemmas. There's a hit piece here for you. I'm sorry. Kevin Rudd issues groveling apology to Donald Trump. And there's the Sky News take on this one. So, like, they're not giving them tomahawks by the sounds of it, but, like, this stuff changes with the wind. It would seem. But interesting development. Again, like, it felt like we were just watching this, like, amazing U-turn at the UN where Trump's like, fuck Putin. That's it. It's over. We're all in now and they're going to win this war. And, like, 3 weeks later, here we are. And he just wants to finish the war. He wants that. He wants that on his mantle, that he finished the war between Ukraine and Russia. And he doesn't want infrastructure hurt within Russian territory, by the sounds of it, or like deep into Russian territory, because they could do so much more damage than what they have been doing recently with the US assistant and satellite technology. But something's stopping them. There's some bourgeois interest somewhere that's told Trump that he's got to, like, back down on the tomahawk thing, just go back in and try and get the peace so people can go back to business. And then we'll talk again later about whether we need tomahawks if the peace doesn't come through. All right, we are going to leave it there now for the main part of this stream, and then we're going to hang out for some afters. I want to get through and watch that Antifa thing, or finish off that Antifa thing on Channel 5 News that we were watching yesterday, and then we'll have a look at some other things as well. The Murdoch playbook is pretty old by now, yeah, and it's lame too, just because, is that all they're going to pick up from that meeting and talk about that on repeat? How Kevin Rudd got slammed by Trump, and, like, it was different in the context of the entire meeting than what they're going to clip it to be. But yeah, thanks everyone for your interactions today. We will be back shortly with some afters. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. We got there. It took like 2 hours to get through the Albo and Trump coming together, but apparently this is a monumental occasion for Australians. We've been waiting 9 months for this. How dare Albo take so long? And, like, look at the damage he's done by waiting for that long. Trump was saying horrible things like, we are great friends, probably the best friends ever. And it wasn't really the narrative I think some people were looking for. They wanted Albo to pay the price for not doing what the mainstream media were asking him to do earlier, which was go and talk to Trump. But, like, he definitely was kissing the ring. There were some awkward moments, and they're not going to lie about that. But, like, I think it was good to have Kevin Rudd there, because he was able to divert his attention to Kevin Rudd. So Kevin Rudd's going down, taking one for the team. This one's for you, Albo. This one's for you. Aglica, thanks for your commentary and chilling today. Dilemmas. I'm just here to watch a trash fire. Love, Jeff. Who else? Indoctrinathan. Mark was in for a little bit. Grand Tifa. Squeeb hanging out today. Sydney Snotley hanging out. Wings of Cheese. Jag. Who else we got here? What else did I miss? I think 4AS was in the house for a little bit. Avalava too. Jerry Poppins coming in the end as well. So yeah, we're gonna hang out for some afters now. Actually, there's one thing that I can't believe I forgot this. There's one thing that 4AS actually sent to me through his context. I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to say where it's come from. Like, let's have a quick look at this, and this is in relation to the recent Albo/Trump meeting that we just saw. And like, check this out. So this is I hope 4S is, sorry, the undisclosed source is okay with me sharing this. But like, this is hot off the press for you. So like, some people are trying to make sense, I guess, of where to sit. Like, I know, like me and Dilemmas have been speculating on this. Like, where do we sit? Jag even asked the question straight out, like, how do Australians actually feel about this deal? Does it work for Australians, kind of thing? Here is this is Labor against war. So this is a media release done by Labor Against War. It's dated today. And so this is a section within Labor. And they've basically put out a release about what they think Albanese's position has been in this minerals deal, and like whether or not he's, and I guess you would say, sold out Australia or not. So let's have a look just quickly before we get to the afters. Let's have a look at this and see what some Australians think about this deal from kind of an insider party perspective, because they must have had a chance to read the deal itself, or at least getting involved in the discussion that's been happening within the party. Approval of something that was supposed to be signed and sealed. Eh? All right, here it is. Albanese selling off family silver for Trump's AUKUS blessing. It's not starting very positively from Labor Against War here. So Labor Against War, a grassroots network of ALP members and supporters, has expressed deep concern at Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's overnight deal with US President Donald Trump to exchange Australia's critical minerals for Trump's approval of the AUKUS nuclear submarine pact. This is a shameful capitulation. Selling off Australian strategic assets is a catastrophic loss of future wealth and is reckless tribute to a fickle and unreliable president for a deal that fundamentally suits the White House. This is savage. This is absolutely savage. So if you were listening to this before and you were trying to figure out what some Australians' positions are on this one, they don't see this as a beneficial deal to Australia. Again, like most of our resources, they get sold on to other people or through kind of private organizations. It's not actually signed, but like, let's just read the rest of it. Under the deal, the Albanese government agreed to selling off the family silver to get Trump's blessing on AUKUS is a double loss for all Australians, said Labor Against War national patron Doug Cameron. Lucky country kind of stuff again and more. Yeah. Under the deal, the Albanese government agreed to prioritize US access to rare earths and critical minerals. In exchange, Trump has given nominal support for AUKUS. The agreement cements Australia's subservience to Washington and further entangles the country in US military ambitions and threatens to drag us into a war with China, our major trading partner. AUKUS was already a dangerous and wasteful project that drags Australia into future wars, Doug Cameron said. Now it's being used to justify away the minerals that should underpin Australia's renewable and manufacturing future. Again, savage stuff here, right? The group is calling on Labor members, unions and branches to speak out against this deal and demand a full parliamentary inquiry. Wow. Labor's values are rooted in peace, independence, and fair use of our national resources. This deal betrays those principles, Doug Cameron said. We've seen the public commitments. The government must now reveal any private or secret undertakings made to ensure this deal, including whether any AUKUS submarines will be used in any war in China. Sounds about right, though. Nominal. Yeah, it was pretty nominal. Like, he was just like, yeah. We got the subs. They're coming. Like, kind of thing. We'll definitely have them. But, like, you know, we've also seen Trump, just like I said recently, say that the Ukraine is going to definitely win the war and it's going to be with our assistance. And now it's just like, can we just have a ceasefire, please? Can we get a peace? I want to add another number to my list of peace deals because I am Mr. Deal. And so, yeah, like, we've got a nominal agreement with AUKUS in regards to basically allowing someone to have control over the products of our minerals, and like it's all price setting and price fixing kind of stuff. And it seems to be seems to be agreements in there and safeguards or guarantees that it will only be sold to certain people too, like, again, probably American businesses, or the American military industrial complex only, and not to any other potential commercial interests. We actually signed, and Trump actually, something exists in name only, is very small, or is a theoretical value. We actually signed, and Trump actually, something exists in name only. You might have to rewrite that one. So I get your point. Sorry. But yeah, interesting that 4S has come up with this. I wonder if I can open that link. Okay, so this is the thing that 4S was talking about. So Australian, nominal in legal terms, missed the quote. Right, okay. United States of Australia framework for securing this of supply in mining and processing. Whereas rare earths and critical minerals are essential for the production of advanced technologies. Whereas the United States of America and the Commonwealth of Australia intend to support the supply of raw and processed critical minerals and rare earths, crucial to the commercial and defense industries of the United States and Australia. Whereas the participants plan to accomplish this through the use of economic policy tools and coordinated investment. So this is it. Oh, this is the thing that they signed. Oh, we actually got to see it. Yeah, there it is. Permitting. The participants are taking measures to accelerate, streamline, or deregulate permitting timelines and processes. Yeah, that's a big hit to planning stuff. The price mechanisms. The participants will work to protect their respective domestic critical minerals and rare earth markets from non-market policies and unfair trade practices, including through the adoption of standards-based systems in which those who adopt the standards can freely trade, and within a pricing framework includes price floors or similar measures. The participants will also work with international partners to develop a future global network to deal with associated international pricing challenges. This is it. This is how the world fractures. This is how the world fractures. Soon, like, it'll be East versus West, pretty literally. And they're just shoring up. And, like, it looks like we've decided that we're going to be taking an American position on all of this and being part of their supply chain, even though the fact that, like, they've already noted in their little memo there, Labor against war, that China is our biggest trading partner. So we're making a big call here. Very interesting. All right, like I said, we're going to leave it there. But, like, there's your inside scoop. If anyone's wondering if this is going to be potentially adversarial to Australia's interests, it's probably not a long shot to say that we're just binding up our natural resources to American interests and American business interests for the the foreseeable future and longer, potentially. I'm sick of our police trying to be friends with everyone. You can't do everything with a carrot. Sometimes you need a stick. Well, look at the sentiment. Everyone was worried about how Albo was going to deal with Trump, and that's how we planned on dealing with him. What do you want? Just tell him he's wonderful and give him what he wants. That'll be good for Australia's interests. So it goes both ways. The pollies are just obviously figuring out whatever strategic interests suit them individually, and then suit whatever interests they have in terms of their networks. But people are worried about Albo not being chummy with Trump, and this is how you got to be chummy with Trump. Sell out our resources. So they've got a significant concern here. It would seem. This section of the Labor Party, Labor against war. America should have a united stick used against Trump, as in the world united. Yeah, well, we're yet to see that happen. If anyone in the UN acts completely beyond the rules-based order, it's the US. They do what they want. All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, if you're going to stick around for the afters, we will be back very soon. Cheers. Yeah, look, somber note to end on there with that the internal memo or that memo that's sent out from one section, grassroots section of Labor, to the Prime Minister. Unfortunate. We're getting the raw end of the deal, it would seem. The raw end of a lot of things. But like I stand by it, if we get someone else to pay for our industry, you know, things change, politics change. And, you know, Trump's not going to be there forever. According to some people, he will be. He'll be there indefinitely, and maybe we'll have baby Vance as the president. But, you know, things can change. But the industry doesn't disappear. Like a deal can be scrapped. But if someone's come here and built out our industry for us, unless, you know, someone bombs it with some, like our drone hits it, strikes it, then like the industry is not going to go anywhere. So I still think if someone's willing to pay for our infrastructure, that's the best that we're going to get out of this situation. We should take what we can get. But if they're signing away access to our minerals, that is unfortunate for posterity, isn't it, for future Australians? But such is the way of the world, right? Such is the way that things unfold for Australia, this colonial outpost that's full of resources. I am finishing at 2:30 today, so I've got to finish early. So Indoctrinate, and I'm not sure if you're doing a stream or not, but if you want to be raided, I'm gonna have to raid you early. I do apologize. I do want to just finish though, everyone, that awesome piece that we were watching just the other day, actually. The anti I want to finish off that Antifa interview. It was so good.
12 shit. So I made some calls.
All right, here it is. Here it is. I wonder how much we've got to go. He's been interviewing them for ages. Pretty good. What do you mean? We watched this yesterday. I wonder if this is how they're getting around it now. Because we did see this yesterday. That's interesting. Let's try this again. You hit me up with age verification.
So I made some calls, and thankfully, by the grace of God, I was able to get in touch with some certified steppers from back in the day, who, to my surprise, were doing their best to stay as far away.
Is like the Great Depression. I think the genuine anti-fascist community is a big reason for that. You know, he's trying to quell his dissidents, and him and other officials in the government are very
see to these fascist ideologies.
Yeah, this is bullshit. This stuff, like, it's a pretty good call. They were like, "Oh, it's rubbish." This horseshoe theory stuff, where it's like, "Oh, left and right are pretty much the same thing." That's all just bullshit talk. That is. I like that. I think that's bullshit as well. I think that's a shit go. Horseshoe theory. We spoke about that on a podcast recently, if you're interested. All right, let's go straight back down the rabbit hole with this one. Learning about Antifa. Scary Antifa. We are scary. Trans-Tifa, sorry. I should use their proper name. That scary Trans-Tifa. All right, let me know if you're hanging out for the afters. We're learning about the real Antifa and whether like they're actually a problem in Portland or not.
Anti-fascists are the same as fascists because they want to tell you how to think. And so liberals are just as much complacent as right-wingers and MAGAs in creating these situations that people like Trump and his administration can exploit to just gain more power.
But do you see any hope in the two-party electoral system moving forward next primary? Like, do you ever see a progressive running on the left side of the aisle that you would get behind?
I'm not the one to ask. I don't vote. My answer will be no to any hope of any politician saving us or saving people.
I've yet to ever see a politician who's not in it for anything more than themselves and their ego.
What, the horseshoe theory thing? It is ridiculous. And that's what they're talking about here. So like instead of the political spectrum being on a bar, where you have left and right, and you have the radical center, you pull it around, and really they're both dictatorial, and they have extreme collectivist ideas, and they want to destroy individualism, and so they're basically the same thing. It's just like one is kind of nationalist, and one is more, I guess, social and internationalist, and that's it. Political actors only in it for themselves. Say it ain't so. But yeah, that's the horseshoe theory, and that's based purely on examples from the 20th century. And so, like, if you think that Stalinism, I guess, is the same as kind of what happened in Nazi Germany, as they're both forms of totalitarianism, then you can make that argument. But it's just a lazy form of argumentation, if you ask me. Really, really lazy. Like, it's completely specific to one very central, one very niche point in time, and doesn't take into consideration any of their ideological differences, let alone like the material differences between the two, and what they're trying to achieve in terms of their objectives. It's crazy.
Anytime I get a little bit of hope, I'm just let down.
Altruism is next to hedonism. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Hedonism, but
time and time again, be it by progressive city council members, Democratic governors, liberal Democratic presidents, it doesn't matter.
Do y'all believe in voting for like city council members or local government here in Portland?
Local is different. Even if I don't believe in the politics, I do think that the people do have power to make changes in their communities. Whether you agree with politics or not, however you think about politicians, I think it would be doing a disservice to our communities and also just lying to ourselves to say that it wouldn't make a difference, even if it's just on a small level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think local elections are a different conversation, and I think that there's value in participating in it.
Speaking of the Proud Boys and other kind of far-right groups like that, are they still as active as they were back in the day?
They definitely got quiet, notably after January 6th. Tensions cooled down. There was a lot of fragmenting of these groups. Lots of anti-fascist researchers would document this stuff. It's all available on the internet, you know. They were just kind of nowhere to be seen for a little bit. Not long ago, within the past like 6 months maybe, in Oregon City, the local Proud Boys organized a flag wave. And that was kind of one of the first things we had seen happen in the area in a while, but that is definitely starting to change. We touched a little bit earlier on some of these far-right grifter propagandists kind of encouraging more and more of these patriots to come and protect them and to protect the ICE building. Look at people's coverage of what's happening at ICE. You can see that over the past week, the crowd size of the far-right has slowly gotten bigger and bigger. And in that crowd, there are, you know, local fascists that are known.
Like, imagine, like, thinking it's a great idea to rock up, like to organize with a bunch of other people to go and support ICE, like federal officers who are just snatching people off the street, and just be like, yeah, we love you. We love you, state machinery who has control, a monopoly on the use of violence. We love you. Like, there's one thing, like, supporting law enforcement or something like that. Like, you know, supporting people, I guess, that, you know, that are working. And, like, they might have picked a questionable occupation. But, you know, they're just trying to get by. You know, just give them a break. But, like, imagine being that person who's like, yeah, let's go out and get this banner and stand at the front of this facility and chant them on like they're just these amazing, they're heroes, basically. They're heroes, and they need our support, our emotional support, because they're being abused by people in froggy costumes on the side of the road. It is cringe, isn't it? It's gross.
By name to people in the Pacific Northwest. I'm talking all the way from fucking Eugene to Seattle. A lot of the same fascists that go from city to city.
Fuck the police too. It's not a horseshoe or a bar. It's a pendulum that can only swing so far before it snaps back. You and Jerry Poppins need to get together sometime. Just chill out. That is. I've called it Jerry Poppins theory political theory on everything, and his is pendulum theory, and it just oscillates between different modes on the same horseshoe / bar. It's pendulum theory, baby.
Terrorizing communities, and they're definitely starting to come out again.
Who are some of the, I guess, fascist right-wing content creators that you guys think are doing the most damage right now to the perception of Portland?
The post-millennial.
Yeah, and anyone involved with them.
Oh yeah, I definitely have a black eye. So that's what it's been like covering Portland for the past 4 months.
As far as Antifa,
She looks AI generated there, don't you reckon? Like, it's pretty scary, actually.
Oh, that's what it's been like covering Portland for the past 4 months.
As far as Antifa is concerned, the main belligerent in the propaganda war against them has been the Post-Millennial, a publication connected to Turning Point USA, whose editor-at-large, Andy Ngo, has the ear of the president, Elon Musk, and in many ways can be viewed as the king of the anti-Antifa algorithm on X and elsewhere. The canon event in Andy's journalistic career appears to have been back in 2019 when he was kicked, punched, and hit with a milkshake during a Proud Boys counter-protest in Portland. The attack caused him to suffer a brain hemorrhage, and eventually he was awarded $300,000 in damages. Like every other case wherein someone is attacked for their political beliefs, the event only emboldened his grudge against the group, and also magnified his reach, landing him a spot on the Joe Rogan podcast and in the op-ed section of the Wall Street Journal, where Andy described the experience ad nauseum, warning millions of people about the radical left. After going on Joe Rogan, he penned a best-selling New York Times book called Unmasked, which focuses primarily on exposing Antifa cells in the Portland area, and has since grown the Post-Millennial into a powerhouse of Antifa-critical coverage. From an internet standpoint, most of the conservative content creators on the ground at the ICE facility exist within Andy Ngo's orbit, and for that reason, have faced extremely hostile treatment from many protesters on the ground.
How do y'all view confrontations between anti-fascist activists and conservative content creators?
My initial answer is to say that I don't think that they should be made to feel safe coming and creating situations for content.
Rogan has done so much damage. There you go. There's the hot take of the afternoon. Dilemmas. Don't celebrate your side having the reins of power. If you set a new precedent, the other side will wield it one day against you. Interesting. Interesting. That's part of pendulum theory. I'm just telling you, you and Jerry Poppins need to have a chat.
Which is what has literally been happening. I mean, even the Portland police said that in their own court filing, but to feel safe coming and creating situations for content, which is what has literally been happening. I mean, even the Portland police said that in their own court filing. So it's not just our one-sided opinion on this. It's just objectively what's going on. Allowing them to operate down there is what has created specifically the situation right now with the National Guard, because the people coming down there have the ears of people in the Trump administration, and they're going to be paying attention to the content they put out. And now they're making executive orders and policies around these basically manufactured and exaggerated situations.
It is pretty manufactured, isn't it? Like, you know, what's going on, honestly? What is the opposing aspect to trans Tifa under horseshoe dialectic method? Trans fash? I don't know. Would it be like dialectically opposed to trans Tifa might be hetero fash, maybe heteronormative fash. Let's just go with hetero fash. Me and Jerry played beach volleyball shirtless like Maverick and Iceman. No homo. Yeah, I'm sure it makes a lot of sense, actually, if you guys do. It makes a lot of sense. Hey? Incel fash. Hey, but like, as we've learned, the incels do like their trans though, right? So just regular fascism.
I remember when it was a few nights ago, Nick Sorter, I don't know if you want his name, you can do whatever, but a far-right, you know, propagandist influencer, whatever.
Cis fash. Yes. That's hilarious. Damn straight we do. Wait, go through the comments and check out Pendulum Theory, Joe Poppins. Thought you'd appreciate that. Cis fash. There's trans Tifa and cis fash. That's pretty good. We're gonna lock that one in unless anyone's got some objections to that. We're gonna lock that one in. Nothing gay about having a boner with the boys. Who said anything about that? He was talking about beach volleyball shirtless. Where'd the boner thing come from? Hey, you're giving us too much detail, Jerry Poppins. We know what you're all about, bro.
What the fuck you want to call him? Instigated a fight with somebody. The post-millennial posted footage of it where you can see he's the one starting the fight. Portland police showed up and they arrested him. The response from the far right was accusations that Portland police is Antifa, that Portland police takes orders from Antifa. That narrative spread like wildfire and was being parroted by top government officials. That's fucking insane. It feels like we're living in an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
It's fucked. And like you just said, Portland police are no friends of ours. For me, or any anti-fascist I know, to come to PPV's defense is also fucking crazy and speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's so beyond words how fucking silly it is. Silly in the most like dangerous way, because like that's what they're using to justify more escalation in Portland.
So how do you think what's going on today compares to 2020?
I mean, in what way? It's like it's just so different. It's so different. So there's a lot of similarities as far as a lot of these like far right figures manufacturing content and spreading lies on the internet. That's not new to Portland. Places like Portland and Seattle are very familiar with those tactics, but things are also really different. The stakes are higher than they've ever been. Things are escalated. There's Blackhawks circling over the city every fucking night, along with drones and surveillance Cessnas. There's also a lot of very newly activated people, and people who go down to protest against ICE is a very, very wide spectrum of people in so many different demographics, whether it's age, race, politics. That's another reason why it's kind of funny when people are covering the protest, the anti-ICE protest, and they're calling people anti-fascist, or not even anti-fascist, Antifa, or anarchists, when half of those people couldn't even tell you what Antifa is or what an anarchist is. They've probably never even seen Black Bloc before.
How do you become an Antifa?
You simply are anti-fascism. It's as simple as that.
It's not like a thing you become.
You can't like sign up and join. I mean, there are, don't get me wrong, there are organizations, there are groups, you know, there's labor unions, there's student groups, there's even, you know, like clergy and groups at churches and synagogues that have, you know, anti-fascist principles. There are groups and organizations that are like have anti-fascist principles, but there is no Antifa group.
If you want your role to be on the ground, like, you know, physically opposing fascist groups or being present at protests and stuff like that, there's tons of literature out there that can teach you if you don't know anyone. But some people just they'll be online and
What, you don't play volleyball with a boner? You're weird ass. Yeah, well, it's been a while since I played volleyball. Hey? Who are these obviously non-violent cosplay nerds? They're pretty well versed, actually. They seem to know a lot about what's going on in their local hood. And it's pretty scary, the surveillance stuff that they're talking about. Like, you know, in 2020 when we were doing this sort of stuff, there wasn't streamers everywhere, drones everywhere, surveillance planes, and Black Hawk helicopters overhead. But like things have changed a bit. Oops, wrong socialists. Eh? Oh, snap. Hey, so good. That's got the word socialist in it. They must be the same thing. Thank you, horseshoe theory.
And they're really good at researching and keeping tabs on like what's going on and educating people. And for that, like all you need is computer and internet. I think it just depends on each individual and the role they see for themselves.
So technically, you could just get Block, show up at an event where you know there's going to be anti-fascists, and you all be like, what up?
If a person wants to, yeah.
You wouldn't be like, what's up, dog? Like, how long you been doing this for? There's no cool gang or gatekeeping, like at a punk show maybe, when someone's like, where are you from? Or like, what's your favorite band? There's no like, were you here in 2020 vibes?
I would say that it's actually like looked down upon to be asking those kinds of questions, you know, because people are trying to keep their anonymity intact.
Yeah, I think it really just all goes back to like, it's not an organization. Like, there are so many people that play so many different roles and are involved in anti-fascism. and that includes people to put on black bloc. They're not all going to be anarchists that want to break windows. It's just so varied. It's really hard to make any kind of like really blanket statement about like anti-fascism as a whole.
And I think it's important for people to also realize that a lot of like what you just mentioned is also by design. There's a reason why decentralization is encouraged. There's a reason why there are no leaders. I know for a lot of people, personal politics play into that, especially if people are anarchists and like non-hierarchical thinking. If you have a leader, that makes it...
It's very interesting. Like, they are fully engrossed in anarchist philosophy here. Like, talking about decentralization, no leaders, and like a lot of people have that political input. Like, it makes it sound like in order to be this style of anti-fascist, you have to be an anarchist, which is interesting because it's not only anarchists who have been anti-fascist in the past. It's any type of, I guess, left-wing person or anyone who opposes fascism. And so like your organization doesn't have to be decentralized. That's a particularly anarchist thing. I don't think it's overtly anti-fascist to be into decentralization. Like, look at the Soviet Union. They're pretty anti-fascist. Like, they literally defeated like German fascism, and they were pretty fucking centralized. My God.
Infinitely easier for the government to cut the head of the snake off and take down a whole organization. But it isn't an organization. It's a bunch of autonomous people working together at something, and that's really beautiful.
Additionally, they believe that this current moment in time presents a critical need for Antifa mobilization due to the rise of bold-faced Nazism since Trump's re-election.
Patriot Front is a direct result of Unite the Right in Charlottesville. For the longest time, they were taking this very like optics-friendly approach. They wouldn't be seen with swastika flags or like overt Nazi imagery in any way. In the past few weeks, that's starting to change. You know, post J6 and very recently, we've seen a lot of these fascist groups and fascist individuals kind of shift from how they were doing things and move on to this like European style of like white supremacy. So now we're seeing active clubs pop up all over the place. Olympic National, they're building a white supremacist compound, and you know these are popping up all over the country. These groups, it's scary. They're definitely out there.
I really like anarchists, to be honest. They seem like better people, and like, you know, fair enough. Like, I think, see, here's the dichotomy, right? Like, if you go back to the time of like the First International, like Karl Marx, Michael Bakunin, like the people that were originally there, rounding up what would be considered, I guess, socialists, social libertarians, as Dilemmas and me have talked about. Dilemmas is a social libertarian. These people that were anti-capitalist, basically, there were the anarchist section, and there were like the Marxists in the First International anyway, not across the board, but in that context. And they basically put themselves along the lines of, there was the state socialists and the anti-state socialists. That's how they describe themselves. And anarchists were just anti-state. So they believe, yeah, in like decentralization, individual freedom and autonomy at all levels. You just have to kind of start with that and build society around kind of autonomous collectivization. Whereas like the Marxists and the state authoritarian socialists, or communists, as they would call themselves, were built around the idea of, no, look, the state is a factor in the power play that is involved with modern society. And so you need to take a hold of the state in order to deliver on the promises of socialism. And so like socialism and anarchism are basically the same thing in terms of their promises. Anarchism and communism are exactly the same thing, but the anarchists have a different way of getting to the objective, the communistic style of living, where people have true individual freedom, and they aren't bound by necessity to trade their labor on any type of market, and there's no private property that forces people, some people to do that, and some people to have all of the power. And so I think anarchists and like people that are generally on the left that believe in a future beyond capital are all the same. Just like, yes, they believe that you can do it in a decentralized fashion. And so they don't believe in hierarchy. They don't believe in power. They believe that all hierarchy and power are bad things. And so I think that is inherently right. That like, I hierarchical structures that no longer justify themselves should cease to exist. So, you know, sometimes in a group setting, you might set up a organic hierarchical structure to organize to do something specific, like, I don't know, your weekend plans, and you put somebody in charge of organizing the weekend, but like they don't have power beyond that. They organize the weekend and that's it. So like there are hierarchical structures that are justifiable in a given context, but outside of that they hold no power. And so that idea that anarchists have, which is like there is really no need for human hierarchy and domination unless it's fully justifiable, and then in that case it only should exist for what it's perceived to be doing, and that's it. And like outside of that, there's no requirement for hierarchy. And I think humans do appreciate that, where we don't want to really be dominated by each other and people should have autonomy. And so like, I agree with that totally. But the counter argument to that is like, well, what's your strategy? How do you get away from the current situation where there is hierarchy, institutionalized hierarchy that actually has a lot of power and a monopoly over the use of violence, and they can crush you? Like, look at what they're doing with Trans Tifa right now. The establishment in America has now classified Trans Tifa as a domestic terrorist organization, a nihilistic, violent, extremist group. So like, in the face of the fact that you have a state power that has incredible reach and skin in the game, what the fuck are you going to do to challenge them? What are you really going to do to challenge them? And so that's where the anarchist philosophy kind of splits off from other forms of social libertarianism. It's like, it's a good question though. Like, yes, it's nice to have no hierarchy and believe in individual freedom and autonomy, but like, what's the plan? What is the plan to dismantle the apparatus that really is causing us all of this domination? What's the plan to get out? And that's always been the dichotomy there. But yeah, their philosophy and their principles are fantastic. I do believe in what they believe in, 100%. People should have autonomy. Dilemma is these anti-fascists would be the first to turn fascistic if they got to the reins of power. It's like the Ring of Mordor. Everyone thinks that they can wield it for the greater good. The greater good. I saw the same people try to grow crops on a roof in Chaz/Chop. I'm not confident with what happens if they succeed. LOL, Chaz was its own weird thing. I don't know this reference, actually. My head right now is just, I don't want people holding power over me, and I don't want to hold power over you. I don't know where to go from there. LOL. Yeah, it's so difficult, right? V incel Lennon be like, did you say V incel Lennon? Be like, the great contradiction of our time is between Trans Tifa and Cis Fash. Wankers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your virginities. That's so good. So you're telling me that a decentralized society, to get a decentralized society, and we can dress up like our favorite comic book vigilantes, finally, I'll be cool. Very good. Yes. Finally, you'll be cool. Apart from all the notoriety that you have in this community, Jerry, but like outside of that, you'll be cool. Man, I thought I was going to get through this, but I've really got to go. So we're going to have to finish this off again tomorrow. I'm sorry. But I've got to bounce early today. So this is an interesting discussion at the end there, though. Okay? Very interesting discussion. I think we're all anarchists at the end of the day. No one wants to be told what to do. You know, like no one. Like, you know, even when you watch little children. Raid out, like, can I though? Are you set? I'm not just gonna raid randoms, but I'll raid you. I wasn't sure because I think I asked you before if you were free, or if you're doing stuff today. Wasn't sure. Let's check. Oh, you're going live now. Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. He is. All right. All of you that are on YouTube, get your asses over to Twitch. And like come and do the raid. Oh, you are going live. Have a nice day. You too. Just here to watch Transfire. I appreciate that. enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Enjoy your evenings if you're coming to us from somewhere else, but enjoy the rest of your afternoons. And yeah, if you are on Twitch, like come out of the woodwork, and we're gonna raid right now. So thank you, everybody. I do appreciate your viewership today, hanging out, chatting, all that sort of stuff. It's been fun. It's been a, you know, it was a bit grueling going through that whole Albo and Trump thing, but we did it. We got there. And it was a little bit cringe, wasn't it? It was. All right, we're gonna raid now, and if you can, like I said, get your ass over to Twitch World now. And until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are mystery. See you on the morrow. Cheers.